The Journey of the Mechas. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101 Incident. The overwhelming firepower immediately poured onto the fortress. Many turrets were silenced and then completely destroyed. Whether it was the freshmen's side or the seniors' side, there was continuous fire everywhere. Both sides were ready to start the final general attack, and then climb to the highest point to seize the flag that symbolized victory. The heated battlefield was filled with everyone's excited roars. All the mechas began to approach the fortress. On the seniors' side, the teams began to disperse. The fast-moving mechas broke away from the team and moved forward quickly. The rest of the mechas began to gradually clean up the remaining turrets, stabilizing the smooth situation. On the freshman side, the loose alliance of everyone began to disintegrate after the turrets lost 60% of their firepower. Everyone began to move forward on their own. No matter what the captains ordered, these proud and arrogant people no longer wanted to be ordered by others. They just wanted to take down the flag on the high ground to show their strength. The scene suddenly seemed a little chaotic. However, Jin and Yang Mu did not move forward rashly, but gradually cleaned up the turrets in front of them. At the call of Yang Mu and Jin, the mechas of Su Yunming and others also moved closer to the two, ready to move forward steadily with the strength of the team. We must move forward steadily. We will definitely have a fight with the old students for the next flag, so we must be careful, Yang Mu emphasized in the channel, and everyone responded, and then planned to clean up the turrets under the command of Jin. Just when everyone was marching forward for the final victory, something suddenly happened in the fortress. Spaces suddenly appeared in the gaps between many turrets, and something seemed to be rising inside. Yang Mu immediately discovered this situation and quickly notified Jin and others. Everyone immediately stopped and began to look around, and found that there were many spaces around them. After a while, something slowly rose in the space, revealing its hideous face. The metal shell, the short barrel with coils fixed on it, the special ceramic barrel and front armor did not look smooth at all, but it made Yang Mu's eyes shrink suddenly, and the alarm bells in his heart rang loudly. Laser cannon, Yang Mu shouted the names of these weapons. Jin and others were stunned for a moment, and also exclaimed, but this was not over yet. On the base of this laser cannon, rows of holes opened beside the base, and warheads as big as a pair of fists were exposed one by one. Seeing these warheads clearly, Yang Mu felt his brain numb. These things are surface-to-air and surface-to-surface missiles. Retreat. Immediately find a blind spot to defend. Yang Mu manipulated the mecha to jump off a turret of the fortress, and his body landed flexibly on the ground under the fortress, and then manipulated the mecha to find a corner and turned sideways. Jin and others also immediately discovered this situation and understood what was going on. They also jumped off the fortress to find a hidden place. Jin also hurriedly shouted in the public channel, but the noisy channel completely drowned out Jin's voice. When the freshmen excitedly manipulated the mecha forward, wanting to quickly approach the fortress to take the lead, they finally noticed these rising silver-white objects and exclaimed, "Laser cannon! There are a lot of missiles on the base, quickly retreat! Everyone retreat, quickly use missiles to destroy them, there are no missiles!" Just missed. The public channel finally remembered the horrified shouts at this time, and everyone's enthusiastic mind slowly calmed down, followed by cold sweat all over their heads and bodies. A strange scene appeared almost at the same time on the entire battlefield. The flying mechas turned their bodies at this time, and the engines behind them flashed red light, pushing the entire mecha in the direction they just came from. All the mechas on the ground began to retreat. Some mechas that climbed up the fortress took out their rifles and fired at the muzzles, but they were completely blocked by the blue protective shield that lit up. Don't run. Get close to the fortress and find the crater. Defend on the spot. Yang Mu was anxious and shouted loudly as he watched these mechas flee in a hurry, ignoring the turrets on the fortress behind him that began to aim. This laser cannon is extremely powerful and accurate, but its disadvantage is that it needs to store energy and the shooting angle is not large. In other words, for the mechas that get close to it, its attack accuracy will be greatly reduced. The same is true for those missiles. At this moment, as long as you find a good shelter, the damage will be greatly reduced. But now these people are running around, exposing their backs completely to the muzzles. This is undoubtedly exposing themselves completely to the artillery fire. But before these mechas can find shelter, countless laser cannons on the fortress opened fire at this time, and bright red lights swept all around with great power. Not only that, the missiles on the bases also began to be fired together. The overwhelming missiles were fired from the fortress, whistling towards the targets between heaven and earth. Yang Mu, who was watching all this, could already foresee the fate of those mechas, but he was completely unable to help. Yang Mu could only hide his mecha in a gap created by the concrete wall and shells under the fortress. A huge explosion sounded from the holographic helmet, and some people roared unwillingly. The roaring explosion enveloped all the land within a half-kilometer radius of the fortress. Although the mechas of Yang Mu and others were in a hidden place, they were also affected. Quinn's mecha was affected by the fragments in an explosion and had to withdraw from the battlefield in advance. The explosion gradually disappeared, and Yang Mu looked at the scene outside again. At this moment, the various small hills in front of him had been completely flattened, and some places were even blown out into large pits several meters deep. Only sporadic sounds were heard in the public channel that was noisy just now. The scene was tragic, and many people failed to escape the attack and withdrew from the battle. Yang Mu had no time to sigh over all this, but quickly got out of the shelter. Yang Mu had to seize this opportunity and move forward quickly. The laser cannon will have a short period of energy storage time after use, and the missiles also need time to be filled. At this time, the protective shield of the laser cannon must be open. Although he could not attack the laser cannon could not attack him either. Yang Mu controlled the mecha to quickly climb up a wall and stood on the bottom floor of the fortress again. But he did not have much time. Within 1 minute, he had to reach the next hidden place. Although the shield would be temporarily closed when the laser cannon fired, he had no missiles, and the bullets of the guns would be difficult to quickly destroy these laser cannons. Yang Mu looked up at the fortress and saw a pit next to a blown-up turret. There was a good place. Jijin and others also saw this situation at this time, and they all controlled the mechas to move forward. At this time, some mechas slowly stood up in the deep pits everywhere. These were mechas that had evaded in time before the attack came. At this moment, they also seized the opportunity and approached the fortress. Everyone understood that only by getting close to the fortress would they have a higher chance of survival, and the farther away, the higher the danger. At the same time, on the other side of the fortress, the old students who had also suffered the double blow of laser cannons and missiles began to appear from all directions and continued to attack the fortress. However, judging from their numbers, although the old students also suffered this sudden attack, it was obvious that their casualties were not high. There were still 30 or 40 mechas in action on the field, while Yang Mu's side had less than 20 left. Looking at the comparison of the number of people who had already opened up a gap, Long Lai nodded at the performance of these freshmen. After all, they were able to reach this level before receiving their own professional mecha combat training, which was already very good. The firepower removal rate of both sides on the fortress was almost the same, which was a place that Long Lai admired very much, but in this wave of sudden attacks just now, the freshmen showed too much unprofessionalism, resulting in heavy losses. Long Lai sighed, and then he continued to pay close attention to the freshmen, wanting to see what amazing moves these young men and women could make. At this moment, Long Lai suddenly noticed a figure in the front. This Hanlong Metra was very experienced in climbing on the fortress, constantly changing positions. It seemed that he was looking for a position to avoid the laser cannon. Long Lai immediately showed some interest. Su Shaoqing seemed to have noticed this situation at this time. He pointed his finger at a screen, and the entire image was projected on a separate screen. Next to this screen, another screen showed the mecha operated by the old student named Nanguang Zhao, but his current position seemed to be a little behind Hanlong's position. Chapter 102 The Final Obstacle. When Yang Mu was manipulating the War Dragon mech to climb up to a higher level turret, the alarm system in the mech suddenly sounded. A laser turret behind Yang Mu had been fully charged and was now rotating its turret, aiming at Yang Mu's War Dragon mech. The laser muzzle flashing with a faint light began to gather slightly, and a buzzing sound began to be heard, and Yang Mu's heart was alarmed. Yang Mu quickly inserted the rifle into the weapon rack behind him, and used his hands and feet to control the mech to jump off the turret he was standing on just now. Under the cover of the huge turret, he crawled towards the pit he had already found. It was not that Yang Mu did not want to fight back, but the position of the turret that was locking on him was too hidden. Perhaps in the original fortress design, The turret would not attack the direction where Yang Mu was, but the problem was that the turret had been blown up in the previous attack. This allowed the laser cannon to hit the direction where Yang Mu was through the gap in the blown-up turret. Yang Mu manipulated the mech to crawl through the gap between the two turrets, and at this moment, there was a loud noise around. Those laser cannons have been fired again. Yang Mu quickly curled up the fuselage into the innermost turret pit, and at the same time, above the wall where the Zhanlong mech was leaning, a laser cannon was firing a powerful laser beam, and the missiles flying out from the base spewed out thick white smoke, covering the entire area, and the Zhanlong fuselage was shrouded in it. The high-energy lasers fired by the laser cannon plowed a series of charred marks on the ground in the distance, showing its powerful lethality and destructive power. The next moment, a burst of gunfire rang out, and the laser cannon that was still attacking fiercely was suddenly blown up, and the initiator was Yang Mu. Putting away the rifle in his hand, Yang Mu hid the fuselage again, quietly waiting for the next attack stagnation time. After a while, all the laser cannons stopped attacking and entered the next charging phase. Only a few kinetic cannons that had not been destroyed were still exerting their power in the entire fortress. Yang Mu climbed out of the pit directly and controlled the mecha to climb up again. Yang Mu had already used the neural connection system very skillfully. Yang Mu no longer needed to predict the movements of the mecha in advance. As long as he could ensure the balance of the mecha, he could make various movements at will and control the mecha to climb quickly to the highest point of the fortress. The colorful flag was less than 50 meters away from Yang Mu in a straight line. Many people had come to their senses and began to help Yang Mu clear the surrounding roadblocks so that Yang Mu could move forward smoothly. But the higher he climbed, the more he felt bad. The fortress was in the shape of a pyramid. The space became smaller as he went up, but at the top, it was filled with dense laser turrets. Moreover, the situation of the turrets here is different from that in the middle and lower parts of the fortress. The turret base here is equipped with an all-round gyroscope, and the entire turret can attack in all directions without dead angles. This means that Yang Mu is now completely exposed to the firepower of each turret. If Yang Mu cannot completely avoid the attack of these turrets during the next attack, then as long as the laser beam emitted by one of the turrets hits Yang Mu, the entire War Dragon mech will be completely destroyed. Can't go up directly like this anymore. After calculating the charging time of the laser cannon, Yang Mu stopped and controlled the mech to look around. Yang Mu, what's wrong? Why don't you continue to move forward? Ji Jin asked in the channel at this time. Su Yuanming explained Ji Jin's problem in advance. Yang Mu can't move forward rashly. It is impossible to successfully get the flag without destroying the dozens of laser cannons on the top. Yang Mu said agreeing with Su Yuanming's statement, and did not explain too much, but quickly looked for his shelter here. Su Yuanming and others are still slowly cleaning up the turrets in the middle and lower levels. Ji Jin and another strong man are not far from Yang Mu at this time, but generally speaking, Yang Mu is the person closest to the flag. He opened a blown-up turret next to him and erected it to block himself. He found that the appearance of this wreckage is very suitable for use as a shield. Yang Mu suddenly had an idea in his mind. If the wreckage in his hand can withstand an attack, he will be able to destroy some of the turrets in front of him, and then the next thing will be much simpler. Yang Mu immediately confirmed his idea, and immediately found a slightly smaller piece of wreckage not far away, and then put the two pieces of wreckage together to form a very thick shield. Just as Yang Mu was sorting out this shield, the laser cannon on the fortress was used again. Yang Mu leaned against the fortress wall behind him and dodged the attack again in time. I must seize this opportunity. Yang Mu made a decision for himself in his heart. Only by seizing this gap can he destroy some turrets. Otherwise, he will have to stay in this place for many times. Not only may he have no way to break through the laser turret in front of him, but the possibility of being attacked is also greater. Yang Mu was determined in his heart and prepared to force a charge to see if he could break through the laser cannon array in front of him and reach the innermost part, all the way to the top of the fortress. Thinking of this, Yang Mu held the wreckage of the turret next to him tightly in the left hand of the mecha, holding the rifle in his right hand, and found the nearest route to break through directly upwards. What is he going to do? Many people under the fortress saw Yang Mu's actions and were stunned. I don't understand what this person's actions are for. Long Lai, who was sitting in front of the screen, also saw this situation and showed a surprised expression. This guy actually went straight forward when the laser cannon released its power. Didn't he know that all the weapons on the top of the fortress were specialized? Yang Mu naturally knew this, but he couldn't stay here for any longer. This battle must be fought quickly. As long as he could get the flag between the time when the laser cannon stopped attacking and started again, the game would be over. With this idea in mind, Yang Mu controlled the mecha to sprint to the top quickly, and the entire War Dragon mecha shuttled upwards between the dense turrets. However, Yang Mu still underestimated the power of these laser cannons. When he was still 10 meters away from the flag, an alarm sounded in the mecha system, and many turrets in front of him had begun to move and aim at Yang Mu. Yang Mu gritted his teeth and decided to take on this series of attacks. The huge laser cannon beam hit the wreckage shield in front of Yang Mu. The alarm in the War Dragon was still ringing wildly. Yang Mu glanced around and found that his back was still completely exposed to the firing range of the turrets below. Those turrets were turning their positions and aiming in the direction of Yang Mu. But Yang Mu had no way to retreat and no way to avoid. In the current situation, he could only resist these attacks. But the unprotected back armor would definitely not be able to withstand the attack of the laser cannon. Yang Mu's forehead gradually became sweaty, and the laser cannon behind him opened fire at this time. Yang Mu fought desperately, opened the engine behind him to the maximum, and manipulated the entire fuselage to jump up suddenly. The beam of the laser cannon attacking Yang Mu from the front was not able to turn in time, and shot directly on other turrets, destroying several laser cannons. Yang Mu was delighted and turned around to defend against the laser beam behind him. Squeak caw, but at this moment, a problem suddenly occurred. Yang Mu suddenly found that he could not rotate the fuselage of the War Dragon. The waist part was stuck and even damaged. It was the problem of that damn huge battery. Yang Mu immediately understood the source of the problem, but he was extremely anxious. At the same time, a burst of sparks appeared on the War Dragon mecha suspended by Yang Mu in the real field. The twisted fuselage caused the waist armor to twist under this high-intensity twisting, and the entire suspension system also had problems at this time. Yang Mu turned his head and looked at the red and white beams of light that were still shooting at him from behind. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. It seemed that he still couldn't escape this level. But at this moment, the laser beam that had not yet moved to Yang Mu's mecha suddenly went out, and Yang Mu's huge dragon fuselage fell back to the platform of the fortress. Turning around, he saw that several laser cannons below had been destroyed. Yang Mu. Quick, Ji Jin's urging voice came from the channel, and then there was the sound of gunfire. Yang Mu then noticed that some mechas that were not operated by the freshmen appeared below at some point. It was the old students who had crossed the interface and started to attack the freshmen. Their ideas were completely different from those of Yang Mu and others. Their goal was very clear, that is, to eliminate all the freshmen, and then they could get the top flag alone, and the external competition would then turn into internal competition. Yang Mu looked at the dozen freshman mechas in the field colliding with the opponent's mecha group, and understood what he should do at this moment. Twisting Xianlong's body, Yang Mu used up all the bullets in his rifle and machine gun, destroyed the dozen or so laser cannons in front of him whose energy shields had not yet been opened, and cleared the way forward. Yang Mu controlled Xianlong to rush towards the highest flag with big strides. The colorful flag was right in front of him, but the mecha suddenly issued a roaring alarm. Yang Mu lowered his body, stopped the upward movement of the fuselage, and took a step back, but saw a silver-white mecha holding a sharp long knife in front of him diagonally to the upper right. It seemed that the attack just now was launched by the opponent. Yang Mu glanced at the opponent, and the armor on Xianlong's arms silently opened, and two chain swords popped out of them. Yang Mu took an offensive posture. There is no doubt that the old mecha in front of him is the mecha that prevents him from winning the final victory. Chapter 103 The victory is decided. What's your name? If you are a student of PAJR, go down. I won't attack you. An arrogant and cold voice sounded in the silver-white mecha, which seemed to be completely disdainful of all Yang Mu's actions. Yang Mu let out a deep breath, and felt a little surprised by the other party's excessive confidence. The old student in front of him was able to reach this position at this time and launch such a sudden attack on him, which showed that he was still quite powerful. But how could Yang Mu give up just because of the other party's words? He spent so much effort to get to the top, and the colorful flag was right in front of him, but he gave up so easily in the end. This was not in line with Yang Mu's style. Yang Mu did not speak, and expressed his attitude indifferently. Nangguangzio in the silver-white mecha's eyes suddenly became very cold, and the long sword in the whirlwind mecha's hand slowly raised, and the tip of the sword flashing with a faint light pointed at the head of the War Dragon. Since you don't say anything, don't blame the senior for being ruthless, Nang Guangzhou said harshly, but Yang Mu didn't feel nervous. Instead, he felt that this person was a bit powerful. He was indeed an old man, and his strength was enough to make him proud. However, before finding out the strength of the other party, overconfidence is the most stupid arrogance. After he finished speaking, Yang Mu launched the attack first. He didn't have time to delay here. The laser cannon was now back to the charging stage. He must fight quickly, otherwise he and others would lose this precious opportunity. The sharp chain sword slid towards the opponent fiercely. Nang Guangzhou didn't expect that the war dragon mech in front of him would attack him without saying a word, and it looked like he would never stop. Nang Guangzhou's eyes twitched. Since the guy in front of him was so ignorant, he would let him see his strength. The long sword of the cyclone mech was retracted and raised, the engine under the mech roared, and Nang Guangzhou controlled the mech to rush towards the war dragon mech. The two mechas collided violently on the top of the fortress, and the sparks scattered, showing the great power brought by the mech fighting. At the same time, below the fortress, the mechas of the freshmen also collided with the mechas of the old students. Both sides almost emptied all their magazines, and one by one they drew out their melee weapons and started close combat. All these scenes were displayed on the screen in front of Su Shaoking. Although many of the mechas on the square in the mountain belly could not move, the remaining mechas that could move almost shook the entire cube support frame and creaked. Countless battle data were collected, and the data on the screen was refreshed frantically. These data are the most real data? Su Shaoking looked at the fierce scene in the game and the various data flashing on the screen, and said, "Yang Mu. Come on. Beat him. Beat him hard." Quinn, who was standing in his mecha, was still wearing a holographic helmet. He yelled in the cockpit and pounded the display screen in the cockpit with both hands. Quinn and other students who had withdrawn from the battle did not completely leave the battle. At this moment, they were all wearing holographic helmets in the cockpits of their respective mechas, watching the entire game from a god's perspective. The young boys and girls, full of blood and vigor, shouted loudly, hoping to give power to the mechas in the game so that they could knock down the opponent. But Yang Mu and others could not hear it. The battle in the field has gradually entered a tense state. The fierce attacks of the seniors have beaten the freshmen back step by step. The only few freshmen with good mecha control skills have been suppressed by the masters on the opposite side and can only control the mechas to support them. Mechas killed by the seniors have appeared in the field, and the situation of the freshmen has become precarious. Clang, Yang Mu slashed at Nang Guangzhou's mecha with a chain sword in both hands, but was blocked by the opponent's long sword. Both of them were facing this battle with ferocious faces. Yang Mu was anxious about the upcoming laser cannon attack, while Nang Guangzhou was surprised that the freshman in front of him could have such a strong strength. The opponent could always use different fighting moves, some of which he had not yet mastered, but the freshman in front of him used them easily and forced him back several times. At this point, Nang Guangzhou no longer dared to underestimate the person in front of him, and also took out his best skills to deal with it. But Yang Mu had no intention of dealing with it. The laser cannon attack was about to come, and at the same time, the freshmen below were already facing a critical situation. The freshmen seemed to have lost. "Yang Mu, hurry up, it can't be stopped," Su Yuanming shouted in the channel. "Yang Mu, if you don't hurry up, your sister Mo will lose," Jimo also urged in the channel. How could Yang Mu not know the predicament everyone was facing, but he was also having trouble getting out of it, and Yang Mu was caught in a dilemma for a while. At this moment, the buzzing sound rang again, and Yang Mu instantly realized what it was, and hurriedly distanced himself from Nang Guangzhou, preparing to deal with the upcoming laser cannon attack. But Nang Guangzhou ignored all this, and instead manipulated the mecha to stick close to Yang Mu's mecha again, wanting to do the most damage to Yang Mu. Looking at the opponent's waving long knife, Yang Mu immediately raised his arm to block it. But at this moment, Nang Guangzhou's face showed a trace of successful sly smile, and the action in his hand was quickly stopped, followed by a whip kick action, and the left leg of the cyclone frame hit Yang Mu's mecha hard under the impetus of the engine. Success! Nang Guangzhou shouted in his heart. Yang Mu's mecha was immediately kicked away by the sudden attack, and the entire fuselage flew to the side. But Yang Mu suddenly found to his horror that the position where his mecha fell was exactly where a group of intact laser cannons were, and now those laser cannons all locked onto his mecha, and red light flashed in the muzzles. Yang Mu was immediately horrified, but he knew that he could not escape this attack anyway. He did not expect that such a mistake would happen at the last minute. The buzzing sound came again, and several beams of light passed by Yang Mu's body. Yang Mu was surprised to find that his mecha was not damaged. Yang Mu turned his head hurriedly, and saw that in front of several turrets facing him not far away, two entangled mechas blocked there, helping him block the light coming over. One of them was the mecha operated by Ji-jin. Yang Mu, the last chance, Ji-jin shouted in the channel, and then there was no sound. At the moment when Yang Mu was kicked away, Ji-jin noticed Yang Mu's situation. At that moment, Ji-jin grabbed the old mecha in front of him with both hands, and then took him to block those laser cannons. This was the last chance Ji-jin could create for Yang Mu. The huge body of the war dragon stabilized on the fortress. The two mechas behind him were destroyed by the laser, but Yang Mu's mecha was saved. Charge! Charge! Whether in the dead channel or the public channel, everyone realized that the next moment was crucial. They could not help but yell at the top of their lungs. Not far away, Nanguangzio's cyclone mecha was responding to the attack of the laser cannon, and Yang Mu slowly stood up and raised his head to lock the opponent's figure. The two chain swords in his left and right hands were placed diagonally behind him. The engines behind Yang Mu started up, and the whole war dragon roared towards the cyclone mecha. Nanguangzio, who was resisting the laser beam, turned his head suddenly, but saw two beams of sword light flashing before his eyes. The next second, the silver-white cyclone mecha exploded directly. The colorful flag at the top of the fortress also fluttered down. Chapter 104 Rewards. Group A wins. A line of golden words flash on the freshmen's holographic helmets. All the freshmen were excited at this time. The freshmen in the game controlled the mechas and raised their hands to show their victory. The freshmen who withdrew from the battle roared excitedly in the cockpit, clenching their hands into fists, releasing their long-suppressed emotions. On the other hand, the gray word failure displayed in the holographic helmet made everyone a little unbelievable. They couldn't believe that their side actually lost, and lost to a group of new students. When the mechas of the freshmen around them were releasing the joy of victory, the seniors realized that they're really lost, and they quit the game one by one with a dull face. Yang Mu's mouth also swept a strong smile. Although the whirlwind mecha just now was very strong, Yang Mu was not unable to beat the opponent. Even if the opponent was a skilled driver, compared with a battle-hardened commander, who had a greater advantage was obvious at a glance. However, in the game, Yang Mu had been worried about the attack of the laser cannon. The moment Ji-jin helped him to resolve the crisis, Yang Mu was no longer bound and could exert his full strength. This full-strength attack also achieved the effect Yang Mu expected. The opponent's mecha could not withstand this attack at all. At the same time, Yang Mu successfully took down the flag that marked victory. Taking off the holographic helmet, Yang Mu opened the hatch of the mecha from the inside and got out of it. However, he was shocked to find that there were not only staff members dismantling equipment outside his mecha, but also a group of freshmen in combat uniforms who had gathered around him. Seeing the front chest armor of the war dragon open and a teenager coming out of it, everyone raised their heads. The freshmen rushed forward. Ji-jin, Su Yuanming and Quinn took the lead in pulling Yang Mu off the mecha, and then worked together to lift him up. A group of boys lifted Yang Mu and cheered forward. Some girls next to him looked at Yang Mu differently. The happiness of young people may sometimes be so simple. An exciting victory is enough to make them excited and laugh out loud. This victory was not easy, it can be described as full of twists and turns, but everyone finally got what they wanted and won the final victory. What's more, the victory was won in a battle with the old students. Such a victory could not fail to inspire people. All the freshmen were very excited for such a victory. Yang Mu was a little cramped when he was lifted up by Ji-jin and others. He wanted to get down several times but was lifted up again by them. Everyone surrounded Yang Mu and came to the center of the square in the mountain belly. It was not until they saw Long Lai's serious face that they let Yang Mu down. The atmosphere in the square at this time was completely different from the enthusiastic situation of Yang Mu and other freshmen just now. The old students had already lined up at this time, and they lowered their heads one by one. They didn't raise their heads until they saw the freshmen swarming in, and looked in the direction of the freshmen. The freshmen looked at Long Lai's serious expression, and the smiles on their faces gradually disappeared. They silently lined up and stood in position, waiting for the next lecture from the chief instructor. But Long Lai just looked at everyone in the field, without any expression on his face. Instead, Su Shaoqing on the side smiled and called Su Yuanming to come over to look at the collected data. The sound of Su Yuanming's metal exoskeleton hitting the ground rang in everyone's ears. Su Yuanming smiled and greeted Yang Mu, then brushed past Long Lai and raised his eyebrows to look at Long Lai. The freshman in the field only then noticed that this young teacher had just participated in the game with him. Su Yuanming and Su Shaoqing were checking the relevant data. At this time, Long Lai's eyes swept across the faces of each of the freshmen, and then his eyes moved and looked at the old students next to him. The atmosphere in the field suddenly became a little serious and dull. Everyone began to guess what happened to Long Lai. Did they and others make a mistake? Long Lai spoke to the freshmen such as Yang Mu at this time, and everyone was immediately nervous. Well done, Long Lai's loud affirmation came, with a strong tone of appreciation, which made the freshmen in the field a little surprised. You performed very well. Today's training ends here. You can use your time freely until tomorrow morning when the training starts. Long Lai spoke again and gave the freshmen a reward for the first time. After hearing this, some of the freshmen couldn't help but be excited. In the past few days, everyone has been in high-intensity training from morning to night, and they have no time for themselves. But now they have several hours to use freely, so there are many things to do. Everyone was excited, and some people looked at Yang Mu, and their eyes changed from disdainful questioning 2 days ago to gratitude now. Yang Mu was also a little excited when he heard this. He finally had time to do something else he had always wanted to do. At this time, Long Lai's attitude towards the old students was not so friendly. Long Lai looked at them with a gloomy face, and then said in a stern tone, "After half an hour, change into your training uniforms and go to the training ground. Disband." Long Lai simply said one sentence, and then waved his hand to let all the freshmen and seniors disperse. The freshmen immediately burst into warm cheers. Many boys came up to greet Yang Mu, and then left in groups. Several shy girls also wanted to come up to say hello, but were driven away by Jimo, who is like a little tiger. Helping everyone to win a collective honor, Yang Mu has a new image in everyone's eyes. Yang Mu greeted everyone with a smile, but he stood there without leaving. Until everyone had basically left, Yang Mu asked Ji Jin, Qian and others to wait for him. He stepped forward to say hello to Su Yuanming, but at this time Yang Mu was blocked by a tall figure. Yang Mu raised his head and saw that this was a tall boy with a broad face. He was not handsome, but his calm aura made him very intimidating. "Are you Yang Mu?" The powerful voice came out, and it was completely a younger version of Long Lai. Yang Mu looked into his eyes, but he was not surprised that the other party recognized him. He was surrounded by so many people. When he completed the last kill in the game, there was a message prompt. The student in front of him, who is obviously a senior, must have recognized who he was at a glance. If he remembered correctly, this boy should be the driver of the Cyclone Mecha. It seems, he has the same last name as my mother. Yang Mu nodded in response to the other party's question. Nangguangzio raised a corner of his mouth and stretched out his right hand. "My name is Nangguangzio. I hope I have a chance to fight you one-on-one next time." Yang Mu raised his eyebrows, and felt that this sentence seemed familiar. It seemed that it had also appeared in the mouth of a blonde boy. "I just don't know where the person who has no news has gone. I'm thinking too much?" Yang Mu quickly came back to his senses, but he was not suppressed by the other party's aggressive momentum. He also stretched out his right hand with a smile and shook it with the other party's right hand. "My name is Yang Mu. Let's have a chance to learn from each other again." Hearing Yang Mu's answer, Nangguangzio nodded. After getting a satisfactory answer, he said hello to Yang Mu and left. Seeing the other party leaving with big strides, Yang Mu shook his hands awkwardly, not caring too much, and walked up to talk to Su Yuanming. Su Yuanming and Yang Mu exchanged a few words briefly. Seeing that Yang Mu still had work to do, Yang Mu agreed to talk again next time when he had time, and then left the mountain square with Ji Jin and others. After the freshmen left, Su Yuanming was standing in front of the screen of the venue, checking the data with great interest. Long Lai had gone to train the old students. In the field, except for the staff who were cleaning the field, only Su Shaoqing was still standing next to Su Yuanming. "Zierming, take this off first." Looking at Su Yuanming with a light in his eyes, Su Shaoqing naturally knew that his cousin was very satisfied with his test, but he still spoke. Su Yuanming heard Su Shaoqing's words, turned his head, took a look at the exoskeleton on his body, understood what his cousin meant, and the excitement on his face faded a little, but he still pursed his lips and said, "Brother, let me wear it for a while." The feeling of standing, Very good, Su Yuanming said calmly, but Su Shaoqing knew that there were too many emotions in this sentence. Since he learned that he couldn't stand up when he was a child, Su Yuanming's lifelong wish was to be able to stand up and run freely one day. However, medical treatment could not repair this kind of damage. Su Yuanming made arduous efforts and finally developed this equipment with his genius mind, realizing his dream of standing outside the game. But, based on the operating principle of the neural connection system, Su Yuanming wanted to stimulate the movement of the paralyzed lower limbs, but he had to make the electrical synapses release more electrical energy. Although Su Yuanming, who had no consciousness, could not feel the increase of the current, the damage caused by the strong current was real. Wearing it for too long, I don't know what serious impact it would have on the body. Su Shaoqing wanted to stop him, but seeing the excited expression on his face, he sighed without leaving any trace, smiled and lovingly reached out to touch Su Yuanming's hair. Then wear it for another 10 minutes, okay? Chapter 105, Taking a Break. Standing outside the communication booth, Yang Mu's face was a little anxious. He chatted with Qin and Yuan Miao in a few words, but his eyes kept watching the movement in the communication booth not far away. Kunluo College adopts a fully closed military management. Everyone's communication equipment was confiscated on the first day of arriving at the school. Although the watches issued can also access the internet, they are the local area network within the college and cannot be contacted with the outside world at all. These measures are undoubtedly arrangements made by the college for many confidential matters, but on the other hand, they also take into account the daily life needs of students, so two communication booths that can make external calls are opened next to the cafeteria for students to use. Although it is a very poor means of confidentiality, the students don't want anything, they just hope that they can report their safety to their families in time. Since there are only two communicators, it takes a long time to line up to make a call. These days, the freshmen are tossed to death by training every day and have no time to come here, but today there is plenty of time, so almost everyone came here. Yang Mu had been waiting here for almost 2 hours, but Jijin and Jimo did not come. They said they did not need to do such a thing, so Yang Mu finally came with Qin and Yuan Miao. Qin, who had been standing next to Yang Mu from the beginning, thinking about what he would say to his family later. The glasses on his nose slipped down several times because of his excited expression. Then Qin raised his hand to push them up and continued to think about his ideas. After waiting for a while, a girl ran out of the phone booth with her mouth covered. Yang Mu finally had the opportunity to step forward, and hurriedly greeted Qin and Yuan Miao, and walked into the phone booth quickly. After closing the door of the phone booth, Yang Mu stood in front of the floating screen in front of him, stretched out his finger to dial, but hesitated again. The next second, Yang Mu still made a decision in his heart and entered a list of communication numbers on it. The flashing light dots on the screen kept jumping. After waiting for nearly a minute, a picture appeared on the blue screen. It was Yang Ma and Uncle Lei in the picture. Lei Ming and Lei Hong also popped their heads out from the side and looked at Yang Mu from the screen. This was one of the rare times that Yang Mu took the initiative to call home. In his previous life, he always wanted to escape from there. Before graduating from Taishan College, it was almost always Yang Ma or Uncle Lei who took the initiative to call him, and he often perfunctorily responded. It was not until he joined the army and participated in many wars that Yang Mu gradually took the initiative to call Yang Ma, but he only said a few words of concern and hung up the phone. Faced with such a call, Yang Mu felt a little uneasy in his heart. Looking at the screen that had been connected, Yang Mu showed a warm smile, waved his hand, and shouted, "Mom, Uncle Lei, Lei Ming, Lei Hong, Xiao Mu, you finally called me on the Sky message. It's been a week. Why can't I get through to you when I call you?" As soon as Yang Mu finished speaking, Yang Ma asked anxiously. Yang Mu raised his hand and scratched his head, laughing and saying, "Maybe the school is under closed management. And all the communicators and other things have been collected. I told you, Xiao Mu is studying at a military academy. The discipline there is very strict. It is impossible for him to communicate with his family casually," Lei Shangwu, who was sitting next to him, said with a look of understanding. "I'm glad you're okay. Mom couldn't get through to you, and I was always worried. I called a few of your classmates." Knowing the reason, Yang's mother breathed a sigh of relief and said with peace of mind, but she accidentally revealed that she had called Chen K. "Ah, how do you have Chen K's phone number, Mom?" Yang Mu asked with some confusion. He clearly remembered that he didn't tell his mother Chen K's contact information when he left. Haha, this is the credit of your Uncle Lei. Lei Shangwu laughed again and explained the reason. Did your classmate's uncle exchange business cards with me? We got his contact information from him. Your mother is always worried. She even talked to your classmate for a long time. Yang Mu heard this and nodded with a smile. Lei Ming and Lei Hong came over and looked at Yang Mu on both sides of the screen. Brother, when will you come back? I miss you. The young Lei Hong stared at Yang Mu on the screen with his big round eyes and said in a baby voice. Lei Ming on the side looked at Lei Hong with an expression that he saw through everything, and then looked at Yang Mu on the screen. Brother, don't believe Lei Hong. He is just lying to you. He actually wants to play with your models, but Mom put them away. Lei Hong saw that his brother had exposed his little abacus, so he looked at Lei Ming angrily. Yang Mu laughed at this scene. Lei Ming, don't say that about your brother. Lei Hong still misses me, right? Lei Hong pouted and nodded, indicating that it was like that. Yang Mu comforted Lei Ming again. Lei Ming's 10th birthday is coming soon. It's a very important birthday. What gift do you want? I'll bring it back to you during the Chinese New Year. Lei Hong has one too. Seeing Lei Hong unwilling to fall behind, Yang Mu hurriedly added. Lei Ming looked at Yang Mu proudly, lowered his head, and said timidly, I haven't thought about it yet. Then think about it slowly. At this time, Yang Ma and Uncle Lei held the two lively treasures in their arms. Yang Ma zoomed in again and said to Yang Mu with a caring face. Xiao Mu, take care of your health over there. If you feel uncomfortable, don't bear it alone, and don't treat yourself badly. Yang Ma began to instruct Yang Mu on some daily things. Yang Mu did not show any impatience, but just listened patiently. Until Yang Ma herself didn't know what else she had not explained, she finally let Uncle Lei come up to speak. Lei Shangwu looked at Yang Mu on the screen, and his relaxed expression slowly turned serious. After a moment of silence, he looked up at Yang Mu and asked in a deep voice. Xiao Mu, is daily training very hard? Lei Shangwu was a graduate of a military academy after all. Although that military academy could not be compared with Kunlun Academy, daily military training was definitely indispensable, so Lei Shangwu asked this question directly. Yang Mu nodded and talked a little, but did not mention his injury. Military training is very hard, but it is also very training. You must stick to it. As for what to choose to do later, Lei Shangwu continued, paused, looked at Yang Ma, and said. We still respect your first choice. Yang Mu naturally understood the meaning of Uncle Lei's last sentence. Before leaving, Yang Ma had advised Yang Mu that if Yang Mu graduated from the academy, it would be best to return to the new star domain to be a local officer, preferably a civilian, and spend his life in peace. Yang's mother wanted stability, but Lei Shangwu, who had been in the army for many years, was well aware of Yang Mu's situation. After graduating from a super military academy, Yang Mu must have a promising future. Such talents will definitely be assigned to very important positions, many of which may be very dangerous. The stability that Yang's mother expected may not necessarily be realized. But Lei Shangwu decided to respect Yang Mu's first choice and not interfere with Yang Mu's life too much. Listening to Uncle Lei's words, Yang Mu looked at Yang's mother and Uncle Lei on the screen, pursed his lips, and nodded heavily. After continuing to talk with Yang Mu for a few minutes, Yang's mother reluctantly hung up the video. Yang Mu, standing in the communication booth, pondered for a moment, got out of the emotion just now, sorted out his expression, then stretched out his finger and dialed another number. The video was quickly connected, and a refreshing face appeared in front of Yang Mu on the screen, who had just finished washing and had a headband on his head. Yang Mu, why are you calling me now? On the other side of the video, Chen Ke had just finished washing up and sat on a chair in the dormitory. She looked around a little awkwardly and said to Yang Mu. And immediately there were other voices. The next second, several girls appeared, looking at Chen Ke and Yang Mu with smiles on their faces. Come on, our little rainbow's boyfriend called. What? Let me see who is biting our beautiful little rainbow. She looks pretty good. Hey, Ping Ping. Wrong. What are you doing? Go away. There were several teasing voices from the other end of the phone. Chen Ke blushed and sent them away. Yang Mu stood on this side of the video, watching all this with a smile. After a while, Chen Ke finally calmed down the commotion in the dormitory. Chen Ke was finally able to turn her head and talk to Yang Mu, but her face was flushed. I don't know if it was because she had just finished taking a shower or because of the embarrassing scene just now. Yang Mumu, your mother called me 2 days ago to ask about your situation. After staring at each other for a while, Chen Kai said this. Her expression seemed a little nervous, and she was a little afraid to look at Yang Yu. I know, I just talked to my mother. She said she couldn't get through to my phone, so she called you. Yang Mu didn't think it was a big deal, and immediately explained with a smile, and Chen Kai nodded to show her understanding. Are you okay over there? Before Yang Mu could start the topic, Chen Kai took the lead to ask. Yang Mu listened to the other party's words of concern for him, and the smile on his face became stronger. He looked up and looked at Chen Kai's face carefully, not missing any details, and then smiled and said, "Very good, but my schedule is full every day, so I don't have time to call you." Listening to Yang Mu's words and looking at the other party's burning eyes, Chen Kai lowered her head, but a smile flashed at the corner of her mouth. "Then you should take good care of yourself," Chen Kai murmured. And then suddenly thought of something, blushing and said, "Well, I sent you something yesterday." When they separated last time, Yang Mu specifically told Chen Kai a public address allowed by the college, but he didn't expect Chen Kai to use that address so soon. Yang Mu's eyes lit up and asked with a smile, "What did you send me?" Chen Kai shook her head and refused to say. Yang Mu smiled, but didn't delve into it. Instead, he looked at this delicate face and talked about Chen Kai's study and life in school. The two of them talked back and forth, and unknowingly half an hour passed until someone knocked on the door of the phone booth, and Yang Mu reacted. "I have to go offline here, and others are urging me to call home to say I'm safe," Yang Mu said apologetically. Chen Kai was stunned for a moment, then looked at Yang Mu carefully for a few times, and nodded woodenly. Seeing the other party's little action, Yang Mu was very satisfied in his heart, but he took the last chance to ask, "Kabir, what did you send me?" Chen Kai heard Yang Mu's question again, turned her head away and hesitated for a moment, then loosened her lip and spoke out. Her voice was small, but Yang Mu heard it clearly. "I sent you a photo of me. Alice, single dogs can't afford to be hurt. They feed themselves dog food and are unhappy." Cap. Chapter 106, Sudden Assessment. Hoopa, Yang Mu raised his hand to block Qian's fist, then swept his right leg horizontally, knocking the opponent to the ground. Yang Mu, you didn't hold back." Qian showed a trace of pain on his face, stretched out his hand to touch his hips, and said to Yang Mu while lying on the ground. Yang Mu walked forward silently, stretched out his hand to pull him up. "If I hold back, you will probably fight with a fire dragon." Yang Mu used his right hand to pull Qian up, then wiped the sweat from his face and stepped back a few steps. The sun was approaching noon, and the heat was still very strong. Yang Mu was sweating profusely, and his training clothes were now completely soaked with sweat. Of course, everyone in the field was in the same situation without exception. "Forget it, I remember the scene when he trained Tao Meng last time." Qian stood up with a look of fear on his face and hurriedly stated his position. More than 2 months have passed in Kunlun College, and time has quietly come to November, but the coolness of autumn cannot be found here. The students are still busy every day. The training is coming to an end, and Longlai has also informed everyone in advance that there will be an unknown final assignment to test everyone's learning over the past few months. In these 3 months, everyone has rarely had the opportunity to sit in the classroom for normal classes. Almost all of them are training grounds, mountain squares, research rooms, and surrounding mountain roads, where freshmen sweat every day. In the past 3 months, the knowledge that the students have learned is almost all about physical exercise, hand-to-hand combat moves, and various precautions for mecha driving. There are also some special teachings interspersed among them. It is completely treating each student as a basic soldier and learning what every soldier on the battlefield should do. Of course, after these 3 months of getting along, everyone gets along very well, and a group of experienced boys privately nicknamed Longlai the Fire Dragon. There was a student who originally said to name him Red Scarface, but the next day, that guy was pulled out by Longlai for some training, and everyone finally chose this nickname. Beep beep beep, a sharp whistle sounded, and the 82nd term students in the field stopped their movements and looked at the source of the whistle. "The training is over, gather at the mountain square at 1 p.m. Disband," an instructor said loudly to the people in the field, but Longlai was nowhere to be seen. Hearing the instructor's disbanding slogan, the students also dispersed one after another. Some walked towards the cafeteria, and some prepared to go back to take a shower before eating. "Yang Mu, do you want to eat first or take a shower before eating?" Quinn supported his knees with his hands, looked up at Yang Mu with a heavy breath and asked. Wiping the sweat off his face with a corner of his clothes, Yang Mu walked to the side and drank a few sips of light salt water, took a deep breath, and said, "Go back to take a shower first, then eat." "Okay," Quinn nodded, also drank a few sips of water, then wiped the sweat off his face and followed Yang Mu to the dormitory. "Yang Mu, let's go eat together." Before he had taken a few steps, a crisp voice sounded behind Yang Mu. Yang Mu held his forehead and stopped. Jimo, who had two big braids, was standing not far from Yang Mu at the moment. She wiped the sweat off her face with a towel in her hand and said to Yang Mu with a smile. Ever since she received the photo sent by Chen K, the beasts in the dormitory spread the news that Yang Mu had found a good cabbage throughout the college. After that, Jimo came up and forced Yang Mu to show her the photo. Yang Mu couldn't persuade her, so he let her take a look. Then the little girl almost tore Yang Mu's photo to pieces on the spot. After Yang Mu took it away, she pouted and kept saying, "What's there to be proud of? It's just a little better looking than me." From then on, Jimo would come to talk to Yang Mu after training, talking about everything. This abnormal behavior caused Ji Jin to wander around within 5 meters of Yang Mu with a cold face again and again. Yang Mu was happy that Ji Jin, as a brother, would pull Jimo away. However, after Jimo acted like a spoiled child to Ji Jin one time, Ji Jin just ignored it and pretended not to hear or see Yang Mu's request for help. "Sister Mo, let's go back to the dormitory to change clothes first, and then go eat by ourselves later." Quinn also became Yang Mu's life-saving straw. He turned around at the first time and said to Jimo with a smile, but was slapped aside by Jimo. "Go wherever you want to stay, Yang Mu, what do you think?" Jimo walked forward a few steps and looked at Yang Mu and asked. Yang Mu turned around, looked at Jimo helplessly, sighed deeply, and then said with an apologetic look on his face, "Jimo, I'm sweating all over. Let's go back and take a shower before we go to eat." "Okay, I'll ask you to go with me later." After hearing Yang Mu's answer, Jimo left very straightforwardly. Quinn, who was standing aside, twitched his mouth. He couldn't understand why he had just said the same thing. Why was he ignored like this? Watching Jimo jumping away, Yang Mu sighed helplessly again and stretched out his hand to beckon Quinn to leave together. For some reason, Jimo changed her past attitude of sticking to him and began to play the trick of playing hard to get. Although Jimo's implication was very obvious, Yang Mu had no such idea. Not to mention Chen K's reason, he had regarded Jimo as his sister from the beginning. Well, it was a very old-fashioned reason. But Yang Mu didn't want to hurt the other party's heart at the very beginning, so he could only use the seizing method to ease the current situation. After all, Ji Jin once said in private that the reason he came here was to make Jimo live happily every day. As Ji Jin's good friend, Yang Mu had no reason not to help. Moreover, Yang Mu still remembered what Cuz said to him in his dream. So everything should be done slowly. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, all the students of the second term came to the square on time to gather, and when Yang Mu walked in, he felt a different atmosphere from usual. At this moment, the square in the mountain was not the busy scene before. When the freshmen walked in, they saw many staff standing in 2 rows in the square, watching the 80 freshmen. Behind them, there was a super huge curtain covering something, which seemed very mysterious. The puzzled freshmen observed the surroundings, but there was no way to see any clues. They could only line up and stand neatly in the center of the venue. After a while, everyone suddenly saw a few people being escorted to an entrance not far away. Yang Mu looked over and found that they were a group of teachers and leaders of the college, many of whom he had seen on the day of enrollment. The leader was the Dean Yankin. Yan Shanfu was not here today for some reason. Then came Long Lai, Su Xiaoqing, Ma Wenjin, a middle-aged man in a suit, and a well-dressed female teacher. At this moment, they were following Yankin and slowly walked into the center of the venue. Yankin came to the center amid everyone's applause and welcome, and put a microphone button on the collar of his tang suit. "Ahem, classmates, long time no see." Yankin pretended to cough twice, and then greeted the 80 freshmen in the venue. Everyone looked at the old man solemnly, and everyone was waiting for the old man to interpret the doubts in their hearts. "Today, I specially called everyone here. First of all, I want to congratulate everyone," Yankin said with a smile. Yang Mu frowned slightly when he heard Yankin's words. "What are you congratulating? Have we accomplished something now?" Yang Mu was very confused, but suddenly he realized something. Yang Qin, who was standing in the field, answered Yang Mu's doubts the next moment and also verified Yang Mu's guess. Congratulations to everyone for successfully completing the 3-month entrance training. There was an uproar in the field. Everyone was a little confused. There was still nearly a week before the end of the training, but why did the dean say that the training was over? Yang Qin looked at the noisy scene in the field, but he touched his beard, stretched out his hand to stop Long Lai from stepping forward to maintain order, and continued. I know everyone is a little surprised about this result. Indeed, there are still a few days left in the 3-month training, but Yang Qin's face gradually became serious. Looking at the students in the field, he spoke. I believe you have not forgotten the life and death agreement you signed before entering the academy. You should also remember the monument to heroes I mentioned when I first met you, right? The reason why I am here to explain this to you is because you will face an assessment next. This assessment will start in an hour. The expressions on the faces of the freshmen suddenly became exciting. They did not realize that this training would face an assessment at this time. Everyone, be quiet. I know this assessment is very sudden, but as elites, you must be willing to do your best to complete this assessment. But before that is, now, the old man, must explain something to you here. Yang Qin's tone was very firm, and everyone suddenly felt the seriousness in his tone. 3 students died in the entrance training assessment of Kunlun College last year. Yang Qin just said a few words, but it made everyone uproar. You will also accept the next test. Professional knowledge has been taught to everyone, so now is the time to test everyone's ability. As he said this, the red curtain on one side of the square in the mountain belly suddenly fell, revealing dozens of different mechas behind. The shell of each mecha was shining with metallic light. It seemed that they were all the latest and well-maintained mechas. This is the weapon you will use to complete the mission. The details of the mission will be sent to your personal terminal later. I am here, an old man, and I want to say something to everyone. As he said this, Yang Qin paused and carefully scanned everyone in the field. The field also fell into a moment of silence. Please, come back alive. The 6 words were short and the voice was not loud, but it made everyone's heart tremble, knowing the cruelty behind these words. Many people lowered their heads at this time, and raised their heads proudly after a moment. They did not expect that they would accept the test of life in such a short time, but at the same time, they also realized why they came here and what kind of responsibilities and burdens they shouldered. Even if the road ahead is confusing and full of dangers, you still have to rely on your own abilities to forge a path. Yang Qin looked deeply at the 80 students in front of him who were full of fighting spirit, and nodded. These young children should have been enjoying the infinite vitality brought by youth, but they had to accept the test of death at this moment. Looking at the fearless expressions on their faces, Yang Qin knew that this group of students had already been branded as soldiers. Yang Qin showed a gratified smile on his face, and then said loudly, Students, remember our school motto, even if there are tens of millions of people, I will go. The deafening and majestic voices of the freshmen suddenly rang out in the field. At this moment, everyone realized their mission. Come back alive. Chapter 107 Assessment begins. Tap, 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 the sound of metal hitting each other sounded, and it was the sound of neat footsteps. Stand at attention. Arrange your equipment and put on your armor in 5 minutes, a stern and solemn voice came, and the neat footsteps stopped abruptly. The voice came from an officer wearing a pilot's uniform, who was holding a display panel in his hand to confirm the various information of the mission. Hearing the officer's words, the 10 people standing upright immediately moved and began to check the condition of their combat uniforms again. Yang Mu checked the various conditions of his combat uniform from the feet up in an orderly and quick manner. Only when he confirmed that the attached backpack on his back was completely closed did Yang Mu stop. He looked up and looked around, and stretched out his hand to help the person next to him pull the armor on the combat uniform so that the fiber material inside could fit the body and ensure that this armored combat uniform would not be uncomfortable when moving. The training uniforms that the 10 people were wearing at the moment were not the elastic and breathable clothes that were originally made of, but were specially made, semi-enclosed combat uniforms made of carbon fiber material for special mecha pilots. This combat uniform was equipped with carbon fiber armor all over the body, and a full set of life support systems were provided inside the clothes. The intention of doing so was also very simple. It was to ensure the survival ability of soldiers in unknown environments. Yang Mu often wore this type of combat uniform when he was in the special mecha regiment, and he was familiar with it. The person that Yang Mu helped to organize turned around at this time, and the two big braids on her head and a pair of watery eyes proved her identity. It was Jimo, who had been pestering Yang Mu in the academy. In this mission, he and Yang Mu were assigned to the same team, and now he was looking at Yang Mu eagerly. Yang Mu, Jimo said, with a trace of fear in her eyes. She was the only girl in the whole team, and she had never seen such a scene before, and she seemed a little trembling at this moment. It's okay, just follow me closely when the time comes. Yang Mu reached out to help her buckle a buckle on the shoulder of her combat uniform, patted her shoulder gently, and gently soothed Jimo's emotions. At the same time, he turned his head and looked around at the people around him. Although everyone was ambitious and ready to face this assessment in the academy, when it really started, the other 9 people present began to panic. The reason is that there are too many unexpected things from the beginning to now. For example, now everyone is no longer in Yanhurong Star, or even in the Yanhurong Star region, but in a marginal area of the new Tang Star region. When everyone was riding on a battleship of an interstellar fleet through the wormhole yesterday evening, Yang Mu knew that this assessment was extraordinary, and it could even lock the Kunlun Academy to be crazy and take a serious approach to a group of untested freshmen. Now everyone is on a Kunpeng transport plane, which is loaded with a mechas selected by the students themselves, and takes everyone to Hades, an ecological planet that has not yet been fully developed. It is a planet with primitive ecology. It was discovered not long ago, and the human expedition team has not yet established a long-term settlement on it. It is still in the stage of comprehensive exploration. However, this planet has a good ecology and rich mineral deposits. Therefore, one of the purposes of Yang Mu's trip is to explore some locations in the team's mission. Okay, now you are in the E2 area. The temperature outside is -12 degrees. It is a high mountain terrain. Each person has 10 backup energy batteries. Now start to get on the armor. 5 minutes later, the airborne commander quickly issued an order, sent the latest ground information to everyone, and then loudly ordered everyone to quickly get on the mecha. It was the first time for everyone to operate the mecha for actual combat, but they didn't expect to be airborne. Hearing the officer's order, Yang Mu took a deep breath, exhaled quickly, put down the holographic helmet, nodded at Jimo, encouraged Jimo with his eyes, and then took the lead in taking steps and walked towards his mecha. Yang Mu chose a Polaris mecha, which was silver-white and good at reconnaissance and close combat. Although it was a third-level mecha from 10 or 20 years ago, Yang Mu chose this mecha because it was very suitable for his combat style. Originally, Yang Mu wanted to choose the latest Tengsh mecha developed by PAJR, but there was no mecha available on the display stand, so Yang Mu gave up and chose this mecha. Jimo, who was standing next to him, chose a red bloodthirster, and at this moment, he followed Yang Mu's steps and walked towards his mecha. Seeing this, the other members also took off their combat uniforms' super-tempered holographic helmets, took steps, and walked towards the mechas they had already chosen. After boarding the mecha, Yang Mu skillfully turned on the mecha system. It was still the most familiar somatosensory cockpit. Yang Mu first preheated the engines of the mecha, then reached out and clicked on the screen a few times, pulling the communication channels of the remaining 9 mechas together. Can everyone hear clearly? Yang Mu asked in the channel, while transmitting the data from his personal terminal to the display screen in front of the cockpit. Each team of 10 people has a captain. Yang Mu was finally elected as the captain of the 4th team because of his good performance in the academy and his good relationship with his classmates. Yang Mu did not shirk his responsibility. He also hoped to do his best to lead the entire team well. At least with his many years of experience, he could lead these people safely through this assessment. I can hear you. Everyone's voices came from the channel one after another. Yang Mu nodded and continued. Harriman, you also create a backup communication channel. If anyone can't contact this channel after going down, use the backup channel to contact the nearest person. Yang Mu put forward his own opinion. Okay, the channel is XXXX, someone in the channel said in non-standard Chinese, and then told everyone the backup channel. This is the deputy captain selected by Yang Mu, in order to ensure that when the team is separated due to some uncertain factors, they can quickly find someone to lead them. Seeing that the team members have confirmed that everything is correct, Yang Mu sent the route map he had just planned to everyone. The terrain of the E2 area is complex. We will gather here after the airdrop. Everyone should write it down on the paper map now. If anyone cannot arrive on time, go to the next location immediately. We will spend the night at the second location. The terrain for the airdrop later is on the side of the snow mountain. Everyone should remember to open the full range of joints of the lower limbs of the mecha when they fall. If you are tripped by a stone, just lie down. If you roll, don't struggle too much. Find an opportunity to slowly stop. Yang Mu carefully explained the precautions that he was familiar with to everyone, and everyone calmed down a little in Yang Mu's calm words. Remember to keep in touch? Complete all preparations now, Yang Mu said the last sentence, and then began to put his hands and feet into the control slot to prepare to start the mission. Because on the display screen, his position has overlapped with the location of E2. Sure enough, the next moment, the airborne commander just connected to the public channel of each mecha and spoke loudly. The rappel will be launched in 1 minute, get ready. As soon as the voice fell, the people in the mecha only felt the aircraft shake, and then the hatch under each mecha suspension bracket slowly opened. Yang Mu could see the snow-capped peaks below when he lowered his head. Good luck to everyone, everything goes well. Start landing, the airborne commander confirmed that all the data were normal, and then said in the channel. The suspension bracket wheel rope above the mecha began to start, and then 10 mechas were dropped to the mountain below. Feeling the slight shaking of the mecha and the perspective of having left the belly of Kunpeng, Yang Mu took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. When it was still 10 meters away from the ground, the rope hook behind the mecha fell off, and the 10 mechas fell directly to the white ground like gods descending from heaven. The assessment starts from now. This is the 107th chapter. I was careless about the title just now, and the result cannot be changed yet. Chapter 108, Jimo is depressed. The huge impact of landing came quickly. Even though the mecha's all-round joints and buffer system were turned on, Yang Mu, who was standing in the cockpit, was still a little embarrassed by such an impact. Yang Mu's movements did not stop. The steep snow mountain wall could not make the mecha stand smoothly. Yang Mu simply controlled the mecha to jump up and down the mountain with big strides, leaving a clear mark on the snow with the mecha. Pay more attention to the conditions of the snow, and ensure that the engine can be jet-powered at any time, while running down, Yang Mu said loudly in the channel. Although everyone did not operate the mecha for several real field trainings in the 3-month training, the actual mecha virtual training provided by the Mountain Square also made everyone gain a lot. For now, Yang Mu and others were very fast in controlling the mecha to go down the mountain. In a short period of time, the position of the 10 mechas quickly dropped below the snow line, and the terrain began to gradually become flat. Yang Mu also began to slowly control the speed of the mecha going down the mountain. The bloodthirster controlled by Jimo was also following behind Yang Mu's Polaris not far away. Seeing Yang Mu's mech start to break, Jimo also controlled the mech to start to slow down. But at this moment, a huge stone blocked Jimo's way. Jimo wanted to step on it and jump down, but as soon as her footsteps touched the stone surface, she didn't expect that the part of the stone hidden under the snow had already broken. Jimo's entire bloodthirster suddenly fell down the mountain and was about to lose balance completely. Ah! Jimo screamed in fear at this time. Facing such an emergency, she couldn't even fully exert her basic level of driving a mech. Yang Mu was not far away from Jimo at the same time when Jimo screamed. The engine behind Yang Mu, which had been preheating at full power, immediately started, and the entire Polaris jumped up from the snow and rushed straight to Jimo's position. When the bloodthirsty mech rolled twice on the slope and was about to fall headfirst, Yang Mu manipulated the arm of the Polaris mech to grab the waist of the bloodthirsty mech, and adjusted the jet angle at the back, gradually stabilizing the body while jumping down. At this time, Jimo was already a little dazed, just looking at the figure of Polaris through the holographic helmet. Then he made a move unconsciously. He put the two arms of the bloodthirsty mech around Polaris' neck. At this time, other mechas that were close and found the situation also rushed over. Seeing that Yang Mu had rescued Jimo, they continued to move forward into the forest below after confirming that there was nothing wrong. After finding a relatively flat ground, Yang Mu put the bloodthirsty mech down. Jimo only reacted at this time and was a little embarrassed. Be careful, the terrain here is not flat, and the jets of the mecha must be preheated at all times. Yang Mu had no way of noticing Jimo's situation in the cockpit, but after reminding Jimo again, he drove the mecha and took Jimo to the first scheduled location. 15 minutes later, 10 different mechas gathered at the first scheduled location agreed by Yang Mu. Yang Mu asked everyone to make some preparations and then immediately go to the next location. When going to the second location, Jimo always drove the mecha to follow Yang Mu intentionally or unintentionally. and spoke in the channel several times, but did not continue. And because Yang Mu was the captain, and he had excellent skills, and his mecha originally focused on reconnaissance, Yang Mu had to go to the front of the team from time to time to conduct reconnaissance, carefully determine the situation of the surrounding environment, and plan a more convenient road in time. So Yang Mu never noticed why the usually lively Jimo became so silent today. After arriving at the second scheduled location, Yang Mu and several mechas carefully surveyed the surrounding environment, and the rest of the mechas set up camps on the spot to build shelters where they could spend the night. The reason for doing this is that the cockpit of the mecha design is actually very narrow, which can ensure that a person can move freely and loosely in it, but because it is an almost cylindrical design, this structure causes the driver to only be able to stand in it, and cannot sit in it to rest. Therefore, when you need to rest, everyone still has to go down to the ground under the mecha and set up tents for the night. 9 of the students in the team are boys, and only Jimo is a girl. After Yang Mu came back, he arranged for everyone that Jimo did not have to work the night shift, and the tent was between several tents of boys. Because the current location is in the high latitudes of the northern hemisphere of Hades planet, and it is winter here, although the temperature in the mountains is only a few degrees below zero, it is not a problem to spend the night outdoors. But when Yang Mu and others finished arranging various things, it was already dark. Everyone parked the mecha outside and lit a bonfire in the cleared space in the middle. While cooking, Yang Mu and Harris began to analyze the next mission route. This assessment gave each group a starting point and an end point, and also arranged several locations that needed to be reconnaissance. Each group had to complete these tasks within the specified time and successfully reach the end point, so as to pass the assessment. Yang Mu, I think we should go here first. The route is convenient, and the distance from that point to several other points is also close, which is convenient for us to choose. Harris took a display panel and pointed to the location on it. Yang Mu stirred the quick heating food cooked on the gas stove and turned his head to look at the panel. After a moment, Yang Mu shook his head and stretched out his hand to draw a few times on it. Harris, I decided to go here. To get to this place, we have to pass through a lake. If we go directly through it, I am worried that the ice on the lake cannot bear the weight of the mecha, and it will take longer to go around it. At the same time, there are several dangerous areas marked here, with large creatures of unknown conditions. The risk factor is too high. If we go through this place in series, these 2 points, Yang Mu carefully analyzed the situation, and Harris also listened to Yang Mu's opinion seriously, but he still insisted on his own ideas. The 2 sides were deadlocked. So Yang Mu proposed that everyone vote together later. If it were in a normal team, Yang Mu, as the captain, would never let others oppose his opinion, but the current situation is different. The people in front of him are all classmates from the academy. They are all elites and have their own ideas. He is not too old and cannot convince others. If he forces the order, everyone may obey, but at the same time, it may also reduce everyone's team cohesion. If the team falls apart at that time, there may be unnecessary casualties on this strange and dangerous planet. This is contrary to Yang Mu's original intention, so Yang Mu can only choose this compromise method. Come, have something to eat. While the team members were still discussing the plan, Yang Mu brought a bowl of hot broth and a pack of compressed biscuits to Jimo, squatted down and said to her. Ever since Yang Mu came back from the reconnaissance, Jimo has been in this state almost all the time. The whole person is in a trance, and seems to be absent-minded in everything she does. When the bonfire started, Jimo sat alone, with her hands on her knees, looking at the flames, and no one knew what she was thinking. Hearing Yang Mu's voice, Jimo turned her head woodenly and looked at the things Yang Mu brought to her, but Jimo did not reach out to take them, but looked up at Yang Mu. Yang Mu naturally looked at Jimo, a warm smile appeared on his face, and he handed the bowl of soup in his hand forward. Yang Mu, am I useless? Jimo asked Yang Mu a strange question at this time. Yang Mu was stunned for a moment when he heard the other party's question, but then he smiled, dragged a small tree stump in front of Jimo, put the hot soup bowl on it, and said to Jimo, why do you think so? Jimo turned her head, looked somewhere else, and said in a low voice. I don't know. My brother has been with me since I was a child, so everything I do is smooth, but today my brother is not with me. I made mistakes everywhere, I haven't done anything yet, and you are taking care of me. As she spoke, Jimo's voice became smaller and smaller, and the whole person curled up. Looking at the pitiful look of this girl who usually looks like a big sister, Yang Mu let out a sigh of confusion. Although Yang Mu didn't particularly understand how Jimo's current mentality came about, it might be because he had been protected by his brother for a long time, and now suddenly changed to a different situation. The person he trusted most was not around, so he was a little bit unable to adapt. This state might be like you are traveling alone, suddenly coming to a strange place, and there are no friends to communicate with you. Faced with such a situation, Yang Mu could only try his best to comfort Jimo, at least to relieve her from this state, so that she could better complete the next task and pass the assessment smoothly. Looking at the depressed Jimo, Yang Mu somehow stretched out his right hand to Jimo's head and touched her. Although Jijin is not with you now, I am also a good friend in Jijing, and I can be considered half of your brother, Yang Mu said soothingly, and then urged Jimo to eat something. The students around looked at the situation of Yang Mu and Jimo, curled their lips, showed a helpless smile, and then turned their heads to continue discussing the plan just proposed. Jimo was a little nervous because of the sudden actions and words of admiration. She looked at Yang Mu with a pair of watery eyes, and her mouth stopped several times when she wanted to speak, and then lowered her head. It seemed that the calm temperament that Yang Mu unconsciously exuded gave Jimo a little sense of security. With a soft hum, Jimo reached out to take the broth in front of her and drank it in small sips. Seeing Jimo recover, Yang Mu was relieved. Drink slowly, get a good sleep tonight, tomorrow and the next few days, I will take care of you, everything will go well. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109 Emergency. There is a waterfall above the river, with a big height difference. There are steep cliffs on both sides of the waterfall, so it's impossible to get through. Yang Mu frowned as he listened to the reconnaissance information a team member said from the channel. After a not very intense discussion last night, the plan that everyone finally discussed was not the two proposed by Yang Mu and Harris, but another method that everyone agreed on. That is to split the troops into two groups. First set up the camping location for the night, and then 2 teams of 5 people each went to 2 survey points not far from the camp. Because everyone is now in the Winter Plateau Forest, there are fewer animals, and the 2 mineral deposits are not far from the camp, so they can take care of each other, so Yang Mu finally agreed to this plan. There are also benefits to dividing the entire team into 2 teams, that is, this can speed up the progress of the task, and at the same time ensure the rational use of resources. After making such a decision, everyone moved towards the 2 locations after selecting the camping location for the night. Yang Mu led 4 team members to one of the mission points, but he didn't expect to encounter such a situation after just over an hour. On the road that Yang Mu and his companions had to pass, a wide and turbulent river appeared here without knowing when, but the holographic map showed that this was a very small stream, which was completely different from the current situation. It seemed that it was caused by the increase in the amount of melted snow on the distant mountains in the past few days. Yang Mu, what should we do now? Looking at the current situation, a team member asked Yang Mu, and everyone looked at Yang Mu. Yang Mu did not speak, but controlled the mecha to walk to the river, broke off a large leaf, and threw it into the river. The leaf was quickly washed down, and then swirled in the middle of the river and disappeared. Looking at this situation, Yang Mu knew that this place was really dangerous. The detection of the airborne sonar showed that the river here was 4 or 5 meters deep. Originally, such a wading depth was not a problem for a mecha of 7 or 8 meters, or even 10 meters high, but now the water flow was so turbulent, and it might be because of the difference in terrain, and there was even a whirlpool in it. And on the other side of the river is a river beach, surrounded by low shrubs, and there are no sturdy trees for the mecha to fix the rope. The idea of passing through the upstream cannot be realized because of the appearance of a waterfall. In this way, it will be very dangerous for the mechas in the team. Although a light mecha like myself can fly over very flexibly, there are 2 heavy mechas in the team, especially the bloodthirsty one driven by Jimo in such a terrain. They can only wade through the river and there is no way to pass through. After careful planning for a long time, Yang Mu finally chose to give up, turned around and said to his teammates, "Let's go back to the camp to rest first. This place is inaccessible. We must take a detour, this way, we will definitely not be able to go back on time. Let's think about it tonight and talk about it tomorrow." Hearing Yang Mu say this, The team members really couldn't think of any good solution for the situation in front of them, so they agreed. Yang Mu greeted Jimo and others and went back to the previously selected camp together. Yang Mu, it's all my fault for choosing this mecha. It's too heavy, so it delayed everyone's trip. On the way back, Jimo exchanged a few words with Yang Mu through the private channel and expressed her apologies. It seems that Jimo still keenly discovered one of the reasons why Yang Mu cancelled this plan. She felt that she had not been able to help much so far, which delayed everyone's progress. It's okay. Every team must have a heavy mecha. This is important. As for the current problem, we can slowly solve it. Yang Mu didn't care about these problems. He comforted Jimo a little, and then prepared to replan his route for tomorrow. At this moment, there was a commotion in front of the team. A roar that resounded through the mountains and forests came, interrupting Yang Mu's thoughts. Captain, we found a big thing in front. The system shows that it is a hammer-headed rhinoceros. What's going on? Did you anger it? Yang Mu asked anxiously, while searching for details about the native species of this planet on his display screen. No, it suddenly appeared, then stopped and demonstrated to us. After a moment, a frame popped up on the holographic helmet, showing the information of this planet's native animal. Hammerhead rhino, mammal rhino class, odd-toed ungulate, hard skin, thick bony structure at the tail, shaped like a hammerhead. When encountering an enemy, the rhino's tail faces the predator. An adult rhino can be up to 4 meters tall, 10 meters long, and weigh 7 tons. One by one, the data was displayed on the holographic helmet. Yang Mu broke out in a cold sweat and spoke quickly. Back off. Back off immediately. Pay attention to the hammerhead at its tail. Everyone, turn on the safety of your weapons. Don't shoot. Wait for me to come over. Yang Mu said this, and hurriedly drove the mecha forward, and at the same time turned on the safety of the rifle in his hand. Jimo, who was not far from Yang Mu, also hurried to catch up. When he arrived at the front, Yang Mu was also shocked by the scene in front of him. The entire area of dozens of square meters was completely destroyed. The mechas of the two team members were standing at the edge at this moment. The guns in their hands had been unsafe, and the muzzles were slightly lowered. In the center of this messy place, a huge animal was breathing heavily and snorting. At its tail, a huge bone structure was raised high on its back, and it seemed to be alert to the people in the field. It seemed that everything at the scene was its masterpiece. Captain, what should we do now? The team member saw Yang Mu coming and asked quickly. It just stopped by itself, and we didn't dare to do anything. Yang Mu listened to the team member's description, carefully observed the situation of the hammer-headed rhino in front of him, and then said carefully. Don't worry, you retreat slowly. We may have entered its territory. It will be fine if we retreat. Yang Mu said this, and the team members also began to control the tall mecha to slowly retreat. This was the first time that Yang Mu and his companions had come into contact with a large native species on this strange planet. The huge size of this animal, at least among terrestrial animals, Yang Mu had never seen it on many planets. It seemed that Hades was special. Facing this huge animal, Yang Mu's instinctive reaction was to retreat carefully, stay away from here, and never provoke it. After retreating a few steps, the hammerhead rhino's emotions did not seem to be as intense as before. Yang Mu carefully told everyone to continue to retreat and leave quickly when the jungle blocked the mecha's body. But at this moment, the rhino suddenly looked behind its tail, and then roared loudly again. At the same time, the huge rhino began to move and rush towards Yang Mu. Don't shoot. Seeing Jimo and others in the distance raising their guns at this time, Yang Mu hurriedly shouted to stop them in the channel. In this situation, let's not talk about whether the bullet can penetrate the shell of the rhino. If it penetrates, it will definitely anger it, and then they will face greater danger. When the team members heard Yang Mu's words, they loosened the trigger a little, but still looked nervously in Yang Mu's direction. The rhino rushed towards Yang Mu with heavy steps. Yang Mu watched the rhino nervously, then put the rifle back on the weapon rack, manipulated the fuselage to take a stance, and prepared to make an evasive action immediately when the other party came into contact with him. As the rhino approached, sweat gradually appeared on Yang Mu's head. Sweat flowed through his eyes, and Yang Mu did not dare to wipe it, staring at the rhino rushing towards him. The next second, the rhino had rushed in front of Yang Mu. Yang Mu subconsciously manipulated the mecha to avoid it and passed by the rhino. But then Yang Mu turned around and was surprised to find that the rhino was not attacking him at all. After passing by him, The rhino ran into the depths of the forest without looking back, leaving the team members confused. What's going on? The team members asked in confusion. Yang Mu, are you okay? Jimo watched the rhino leave and hurried over to ask. Yang Mu frowned, realizing that something was wrong, but he couldn't put his finger on it. This rhino is really big. I've never seen such a big creature in my life. That's right. I heard that there are many such creatures on this planet. They are all so big. The crisis was resolved, and everyone relaxed a little. They even said a few words to ease the tense atmosphere. Yang Mu stood there, still feeling that something was wrong. He couldn't figure it out, so he gave an order to the team members. Everyone, leave here immediately. I always feel that something is wrong here. Yang Mu's words suddenly stopped the jokes of several team members. Everyone was a little dazed, but Yang Mu was already driving the mecha towards the camp. Seeing this, the team members followed him. At this time, in the opposite direction of the rhino's departure, some rustling sounds came. Yang Mu immediately noticed this situation, turned the fuselage, and looked at the situation in the jungle in the distance. Yang Mu felt something was wrong. Chapter 110 Green Jade. Yang Mu used Polaris to quickly check the surrounding situation, and then saw the appearance of an animal in the quiet forest in front of him. It had a slender body, covered with green skin, and a huge mouth full of sharp teeth. It was not big, but it was equivalent to the size of 2 adults. The intelligence system of the mecha quickly captured the physical characteristics of this creature, and then quickly displayed the situation of this creature on Yang Mu's holographic helmet. Green hyena, a carnivorous mammal, 3 meters long, 80 centimeters tall, a group animal, and strong attack power. Looking at the species information that appeared on the screen, Yang Mu was stunned for a moment. It was marked on it that this was a very common carnivorous species on Hades, but they were group animals. That means there might be more than one green hyena here. Yang Mu immediately sent a warning gesture to everyone, and the 4 team members also looked to the side, with their rifles raised. What is this green hyena? Jimo asked in the channel with some surprise. Yang Mu did not answer, but immediately turned on the thermal imaging device on the mecha and scanned the surrounding forest. The combat power of a single animal would definitely not have any impact on the mechas of Yang Mu and others, but this is a group of animals. If there are a lot of them, the situation will be very different. Everyone may fall into a very dangerous situation. Yang Mu cannot be careless. Hula la, the leaves in the dense bushes around shook again and rustled. At the same time, there were many such movements in the large forest in front of him. The forest began to become silent at this time, except for the occasional rustling sound, which was the sound made by the 5 mechas when they were alert to the surroundings. In fact, before landing on this planet, everyone was carefully warned, that is, to be careful of everything on this planet. Hades is a completely undeveloped planet, and humans do not occupy the most active position here. In addition to the unchanging environmental conditions here, there are also the biological forms here. Due to the vast land area of this planet and the high forest coverage rate, the oxygen content in the planet has reached 30%, resulting in the huge shapes of the protozoa on the planet. It is precisely because of this primitive environment that the organisms are very large, but at the same time they are also extremely powerful in attack. The flight commander has repeatedly emphasized this issue on the plane, and the students also recognize the danger of this place. Because last year, the first batch of students of Kunlun College were also assessed here. Of the 3 students who died here, 2 were killed by large animals, and 1 disappeared inexplicably and was never found again, and was judged dead. Although everyone spent a quiet night yesterday, no one forgot the danger of this place. Sometimes your life is not in your own hands. The surrounding noises are getting louder and louder, and Yang Mu gradually saw more moving red objects on the thermal imaging screen. Yang Mu's heart gradually cooled down. Captain, what should we do? A team member asked at this time, and obviously found that the current situation is very different. Faced with such a situation, the young team members were obviously a little panicked. Put bayonets on rifles, open the cold weapon locks, and get closer to each other. Jesu. Contact Harris and the others immediately. Yang Mu gave the order in a calm tone, and at the same time slowly moved closer to everyone, his eyes still carefully staring at the situation outside. Everyone immediately followed Yang Mu's order to shrink their positions, and everyone looked at the situation around them nervously. Suddenly, the forest fell into a long silence, and Yang Mu's heart gradually became nervous, because the atmosphere at this time became even more weird, and such a situation meant that the other party was about to launch an attack. Everyone also tightened their guns in their hands involuntarily. At this time, a branch next to Jimo suddenly shook, and Jimo quickly turned to take a look, and the others also moved their eyes over. Be careful, but at this moment, Yang Mu, who had been vigilant, suddenly shouted loudly. Before everyone could recover, two slender figures suddenly jumped out of the bushes on the other side of Jimo's mecha. The two green hyenas roared, with fierce light flashing in their eyes, and pounced on Jimo's mecha with their claws wide open. Bang bang, Yang Mu, who had been ready for battle, took the lead in launching the attack. He fired a few bursts of shots with his rifle. The bullets passed through the eyes of the two greenhounds and knocked them to the ground. Jimo screamed, then stepped back 2 steps from the side and stabilized his body in panic. At this time, more than one greenhound was rushing over. More than a dozen greenhounds rushed over from all directions. Yang Mu and others had already opened fire to stop them. The gunshots startled the birds in the forest, and the greenhounds' terrifying roars were set off by the surroundings. The skin of these things was very hard, and even the rifles held by the large-caliber mechas could not kill them with one shot. At this time, these things had begun to bite each mecha. The number of greenhounds increased from a dozen at the beginning to dozens now. Yang Mu even saw many figures rushing here on the thermal imaging scanner. It seems that Yang Mu and his companions have encountered a large group, or a group of hundreds. Retreat, attack with cold weapons, and cover with heavy mecha firepower. Yang Mu looked at the greenhounds that were already overwhelming and shouted the retreat order. The 4 team members began to change positions clumsily. One team member wanted to open the heavy firepower weapon behind the mecha, but the fuselage was unstable due to the greenhounds that fell on him, and there was no way to start. At this time, Jimo stood up. She tried her best to throw away the 2 greenhounds on her body, and then took the lead in opening the weapon rack on her back. At this critical moment, Jimo still burst out her courage, hoping to bring some help to the team. 2 ultra-small missiles flew out flexibly, and after passing through the radar and laser navigation on the fuselage, they hit the trees in the distance, and the explosion erupted with a huge shock wave. These weapons have been tested with confidence and are all the most sophisticated weapons. Retreat in the direction of the camp. Jesu, you continue to contact Harris and others. The shock wave of the explosion shook some greenhounds and opened a gap for everyone. At this time, Yang Mu commanded everyone to escape in one direction. Yang Mu even put his rifle back on the weapon rack, pulled out the 2 long swords on the mecha, and began to kill some greenhounds at close range. The team members fought and retreated to the back, but at this time Jimo was still standing there, with all the weapons on his body opened, and madly outputting firepower. Jimo's powerful attack did improve the current situation a lot. Many greenhounds were blocked by Jimo, but this was not what Yang Mu needed Jimo to do now. He called Jimo twice in the channel, but Jimo did not reply. Yang Mu had to step forward, split 2 greenhounds with a long sword, and then pulled Jimo's bloodthirsty and pointed in the direction next to him. Jimo finally understood, put away his weapons and followed the retreating team. Yang Mu also broke free from the entanglement of several greenhounds and kept up with the pace of the crowd. But at this moment, a deafening roar suddenly came, and the screaming sound came from the forest on the left, and Yang Mu's scalp suddenly tingled. After the sound came out, all the greenhounds shrank, and then began to roar in a low voice, and began to hesitate. The scream came from not far ahead. At this time, Yang Mu even saw a huge black claw emerging from the forest on one side, and the position of the claw appeared next to the bloodthirsty mecha controlled by Jimo. Be careful. Chapter 111 Crisis brought by the strange bird. Yang Mu shouted loudly to Jimo in the mecha channel. Jimo was stunned for a moment and stopped the bloodthirsty man. The other 3 team members who were running in front also turned around at this time. Everyone noticed the huge claw and shouted at Jimo to get out of the way. A claw that was almost half the size of the bloodthirsty man appeared in the forest, followed by an extremely tall figure. The trees over 20 meters high still couldn't hide its huge figure. This is a bird creature with an extremely large and long body, covering the sky and the sun. A huge sharp beak appeared high in the forest. What was even more surprising was that the mecha system could not search for information about this bird. This strange bird seemed to be disturbed by the movement just now. At this moment, it was full of hostility towards the mechas of Yang Mu and others. Jimo was shocked by such a sudden tall figure. The bloodthirsty man did not change his body shape for a moment, and at this moment, the black claw swept directly towards Jimo's bloodthirsty man. "Jimo! Get out of the way!" Yang Mu shouted again when he saw this. At the same time, a strong light burst out from the launch port behind the Polaris mech, and two long swords unfolded. The mech quickly rushed towards Jimo, but even so, it was too late. The black claw was very close to Jimo, and the whole claw was quickly smashing towards Jimo. The other three team members opened the mech's maximum firepower at this time and shot madly at the black claw, but perhaps under such stimulation, the owner of the claw screamed, and the black claw opened wider, directly knocking Jimo's mech out. The bloodthirsty crashed into the thick tree next to it, and then fell to the ground. Seeing that Jimo's mech did not struggle, Yang Mu became even more nervous, and the speed of the mech increased again. But at this moment, the claw did not stop, but continued to rush towards the bloodthirsty, and then grabbed Jimo's mech fiercely. Seeing this situation, Yang Mu's eyes were almost bloodshot. He roared and drove the mecha towards the claw. The three teammates over there also roared and rushed towards the claw, trying to snatch Jimo from it. Jimo also discovered this situation at this time, and also struggled violently, using all the weapons she could use. But the skin of the monster's claws was very hard, and the bullets had no effect at all, and there was no way to let her break free. Instead, under Jimo's stimulation, the big bird made a huge scream again, and two huge membrane wings stretched out from the bird's body, as if it wanted to flutter and fly. At this time, another team member had arrived. He took the chainsword and chopped it hard on the claw, but the chainsword only cut in a section and then got stuck on it. The strange bird was suddenly attacked like this, and it was in pain. The action of taking off became faster, and at this time, the metro was also shaken because of the stuck chainsword, and it hit several trees around it several times in a row, and finally fell down suddenly. But the horror was yet to come. Before the fuselage that fell to the ground could stand up, the other claw of the strange bird directly stepped on half of its body. The sound of metal deformation was heard, and the screams of the team member were heard in the channel. The other two team members attacked hard, trying to rescue him. The scene suddenly became very chaotic. The strange bird raised its claws, and then fluttered into the air driven by its wings, and was about to grab Jimo and leave. Yang Mu finally caught up, and manipulated the mecha to use the force of several trees to kick up, threw away the long knife in his right hand, and directly grabbed one of the bloodthirsty mechanical legs. In the next moment, Yang Mu was also driven by the strange bird to fly up, and gradually left the forest just now. "You save Ziyi first. Go find Harris and find our location. We'll wait for you at the number 4 survey point." Yang Mu watched as the other two teammates had already controlled their mechas to the side of the team member who was stepped on. However, one of the two mechas was a mixed martial arts mecha, and the other was a heavy mecha. Neither of them had the ability to stay in the air for a short period of time like Yang Mu's mecha. Yang Mu could only give such an order at this juncture and wait for their rescue. "Jimo, are you okay?" Pulling the left leg of the bloodthirsty man, Yang Mu asked Jimo in the channel. At this time, this strange bird that was dozens of meters long and 100 meters wide had already taken Yang Mu and Jimo to fly a distance, and the altitude was still rising. While Yang Mu was stabilizing his body, he was also constantly checking Jimo's condition. "Yang Mu, I'm fine," Jimo's leisurely voice came, but it was a little weak, and it seemed that he was also injured. Knowing this situation, Yang Mu became even more anxious, and the movements in his hands also accelerated a lot. This strange bird is now flying with Yang Mu and Jimo at an altitude of several thousand meters. If they don't break free, they will be taken to an unknown distance. And now Jimo's condition is not very good. Yang Mu must check on her as soon as possible. Thinking of this, Yang Mu turned on the engine behind him, and the flame in the engine sprayed to maximum power again. Yang Mu grabbed the lower limbs of Jimo's mecha with his right hand, and kept swinging the fuselage with a frequency of shaking. Yang Mu was looking for an opportunity to save Jimo. Looking at the constantly shaking scene, Yang Mu finally seized an opportunity. When his fuselage was about to swing to the direction close to the claw, Yang Mu saw the wound that Ziyi had cut before. The bone was deep enough to be seen, just above the claw. Yang Mu's heart moved, and he suddenly grasped the only long knife in his left hand, waiting for the next opportunity to get close. "Jimo, hold on, check the status of the mecha quickly." Yang Mu said this, and heard Jimo's response again. At the same time, his body was close to the wound. Yang Mu swung the long knife with his left hand, found the right angle and opportunity, and chopped it down fiercely. Yang Mu's knife worked, almost cutting into the deep bone of the upper part of the bird's claws, but it failed to cut it off. Stimulated by the severe pain, the bird's claws swung fiercely, and Jimo was released the next moment. Yang Mu, who was already holding the bloodthirsty man, was suddenly pulled down by the bloodthirsty man's weight. Seeing that Jimo had escaped from the opponent's claws, Yang Mu also started the engine hard and flew to the side, preparing to pull the rapidly falling bloodthirsty man. Jimo, see if the engine can still start. At this time, the strange bird just now returned and attacked Yang Mu's mecha with an angry cry. Looking at the huge strange bird flying at him not far away, Yang Mu was extremely anxious. However, he was now thousands of meters in the air. If he did not hold Jimo, under the acceleration of gravity, the cockpit inside Jimo's mecha would become even more unbearable on the basis of being already deformed, and Jimo would be in greater danger. Yang Mu was immediately caught in a dilemma, but he still held one of the bloodthirsty's legs tightly and manipulated the mecha to move horizontally to slow down its falling speed. The bird was whistling, and Yang Mu saw the other claw of the other party grabbing at him. Seeing this scene, Yang Mu suddenly became ruthless and shut down the engine urgently. The mecha that lost power suddenly accelerated its falling body, and Yang Mu barely avoided it. The next second, Yang Mu once again urgently started all engines and grabbed Jimo in the sky again. At this time, the strange bird attacked again. Yang Mu had no way to avoid it, so he fired a batch of guided missiles on the mecha. The guided missiles emitting light and white smoke worked again, and the strange bird failed to catch Yang Mu. At this time, the height between Yang Mu and Jimo was less than 100 meters. Yang Mu roared and turned the power of the mecha to the maximum. The bloodthirsty also sprayed power towards the ground at this time. The two mechas crashed into the jungle below amid the screams of the strange bird. Chapter 112 Jimo's Dream. Yang Mu slowly woke up, and saw flashes of light in front of him. With his eyes gradually focused, Yang Mu saw clearly that this was the light emitted from the holographic helmet on the combat uniform. It seemed that the external sensor was strongly impacted, and the external camera of the mecha was damaged, unable to transmit the complete external image to the holographic helmet. Yang Mu tried to turn his head, and then slowly felt the various parts of his body. After slowly checking, he found that there was no problem, and Yang Mu breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that such a big impact did not cause any major damage to himself, fortunately. Wait? Yang Mu suddenly thought of Jimo, and there seemed to be no news about her now. Yang Mu quickly pulled his hands and feet out of the control slot of the mecha, then opened the front armor of the mecha and walked out. After getting out of the cockpit, Yang Mu finally came outside. There were insects and birds chirping around, but Yang Mu had no time to appreciate it, but quickly checked the surrounding situation. Polaris is now lying under a big tree. Looking at the many broken branches around, it seems that these branches have buffered the fall of Polaris. But Jimo's bloodthirsty person is not next to him. Yang Mu stood on the mech and looked around further, then found the huge fuselage of the bloodthirster on a big rock under the hillside on this side. The bloodthirster was now lying on its back on the big rock. The whole mech was in tatters, and there were sparks coming out of some of the places where it was scratched by the claws of the strange bird. Seeing that the other party actually fell on the rock, and there were no branches around to cushion him, Yang Mu became nervous again. Yang Mu immediately jumped off the mech, then ran to the rock below, climbed up to the top of the bloodthirster's mech with his hands and feet, and kicked the front chest armor of the bloodthirster's mech several times with his feet, but got no response. Yang Mu had to step on one of the mech's arms, bent down and pulled a switch at the connection between the upper limb and the shoulder of the mech, and the bloodthirster's already broken front armor finally slowly opened. Jimo felt that she had a dream, an unrealistic dream. In the dream, she suddenly came to a strange planet alone, wearing her favorite silk skirt, surrounded by a forest, dark, silent, and terrified. "Brother," Jimo called softly, but there was no response in the silent forest. Jimo panted and looked around with wide eyes. Suddenly, there was a rustling sound behind Jimo. Jimo turned around in surprise and saw a pair of green eyes in the bushes. The eyes were green and cold, like the nether fire in the dark forest, very creepy. Jimo screamed loudly, and the thing also showed its shape at this time. It was a monster with sharp teeth, roaring and opening its bloody mouth to pounce on Jimo. Jimo screamed and ran to the other side frantically. Her skirt was torn by the branches, and her bare hands, Feet and face were scratched by the branches around her. It was burning with pain. At this moment, a claw suddenly grabbed her waist and flew up. Jimo screamed and slapped the claw with her hands. When she looked up, she saw an extremely huge strange bird pulling her off the ground. It was still dark all around, and Jimo didn't know where the strange bird was going to take her. But after a moment, it suddenly loosened its claws and threw Jimo from the air. Jimo faced this situation in panic, waving her hands and feet vigorously to try to grab something, but she didn't catch anything. Her body kept falling down and then hit the ground. At this moment, the scene in front of her suddenly lit up, and Jimo suddenly found herself lying in the middle of a gorgeous hall. Bah! Such a person is not worthy of being my sister, a man's voice roared loudly. Jimo looked up and found that the man's face was blurred and his facial features were not clear. Jimo looked around again and saw that in the gorgeous hall, everyone was wearing a neat white jumpsuit that reached their feet. They stood neatly and looked straight in the direction in front of them. On a gorgeous chair in front of her, a pale-haired man was sitting, but Jimo couldn't see his facial features either. Suddenly, Jimo felt her hair being pulled hard. It was the man who had just pulled her hair with his hand and dragged her to the door. Jimo screamed loudly again, but no one in the field stood up because of this. "My dear father, this is your favorite daughter, what? Don't you want to do anything to me?" The man laughed wildly and shouted at the old man sitting on the chair. But the old man didn't move, and no one moved. On top of everyone's head, a small black bead was slowly rotating, and from time to time, sharp spikes appeared from it, emitting a dark purple light. "Brother! Stop it!" Jimo was dragged out by the man's hair, and at this moment, an angry voice came from the crowd next to him. The man stopped pulling Jimo's hair, and Jimo also looked in that direction. A young man walked out from the standing people. Jimo finally saw the man's face clearly, and tears could not be stopped. "Brother!" The person who stood out was Jimo Jili. "That's enough," Jijin said loudly to the crazy man, with unstoppable anger in his eyes. "Tisk, who did I think it was? Tisk tisk tisk, my good third brother, what are you going to do?" The man's face was blurred, and no expression could be seen, but from his disdainful tone, one could still imagine the expression on his face. "Let go of Xiaomo," Jijin said loudly, looking at the man with a serious expression. "You dare to order me?" The man heard Jijin's words and said in a stern tone. "I am the boss here now, everything in this country belongs to me, I am the first heir." The man shook off the hand that was grabbing Jimo's hair and walked straight towards Jijin. "Believe it or not, I will kill you now." The arrogant words came out of the mouth of the man named Jili, but Jijin's face did not show any expression. He glanced at Jimo who was kneeling on the ground, and then looked back at the man named Jifa. "You dare not," Jijin said calmly, staring at the other party with burning eyes. "If you kill me, you can't be the king, you." Jili seemed to be frustrated, and he dared not to answer after hearing what Jijin said. "Let's make a deal." Jijin said something at this time, and Jili was a little surprised. Jijin stretched out his hand, pointed at Jimo on the ground, and then said, "Jimo and I will leave here, and go to Aole country. You, be your king here." The man seemed to be stunned for a moment when he heard such words, and then laughed again. "Okay, this is what you said, and everyone present as a witness. I said it." The 4 words were spoken in a sonorous and resounding voice. And the scene fell into silence. After a moment, Jifa made way and stood aside, revealing Jimo who was lying at the door. Jijin walked over silently, squatted down, and the cold expression on his face turned into a gentle face. He reached out to wipe the tears from her face and touched Jimo's head. "Brother, don't worry, Xiaomo, I'll take you away from this place," Jijin said gently, and then opened his arms. Jimo couldn't bear it anymore, and great sadness surged into her eyes. Jimo threw herself into Jijin's arms. Yang Mu finally kicked open the twisted hatch of the bloodthirster, and saw Jimo lying inside. Yang Mu hurried in. Carefully checking the display screen on Jimo's combat uniform, the life support system showed that Jimo was not injured, but had some minor soft tissue contusions. Yang Mu was relieved and carefully removed Jimo's hands and feet from the combat slots in the cockpit. Reaching out, Yang Mu carefully opened Jimo's holographic helmet and saw that Jimo's face was a little pale. Yang Mu tried to call Jimo, but found that she didn't respond. In the narrow cockpit, Yang Mu had no way to carefully check what Jimo's current situation was. So Yang Mu reached out, picked up Jimo, and prepared to send Jimo to the open space. But at the moment when Yang Mu stood up holding Jimo made a move instantly. She immediately wrapped her arms around Yang Mu's neck and buried her face in his chest, seeming to be crying. Brother. Chapter 113 Rescue. In a metal-framed room, a metal wall was flickering with the dim light of a projection screen, and in this room, many people were busy at this time. In the center of the room, a pair of serious eyes were staring at the situation on the screen. This person was Long Lai, and the place where he was now was a temporary base established by the military on Hades' planet. This was one of the few strongholds established by PAJR, and it was also the endpoint of this assessment. On the screen, a huge WetSjet scan map was displayed, and at the bottom of the screen, several people in military uniforms were holding deduction sticks and gesturing on it, and the small room seemed a little noisy. Long Lai stood silently in place, quietly looking at the screen, and his frown showed his different mood at the moment. It's better to send someone out to look for it than to be nervous here. At this time, a hand handed over a bottle of water. Long Lai glanced at it, took the water, and then looked up and continued to look at the screen. The area is too large, and if there are too many people, it's easy to get into trouble. The figure just now shrugged his shoulders after hearing Long Lai's reason, as if he had nothing to refute Long Lai's words. Instead, he pulled a chair from the side, sat on it, kicked out a pack of cigarettes from his pocket, took out a cigarette, and handed it to Long Lai. I quit smoking a long time ago. The figure still didn't speak, nodded, and lit the cigarette for himself. With the help of the firelight, I was finally able to see the face of this person clearly. It was Zhong Liang, who I hadn't seen for a long time. I didn't expect that he would also come to this planet. Zhong Liang exhaled a deep breath of smoke, then squinted at the big screen in front of him and said, "If it weren't for the old man's request, I wouldn't have come here. Originally, the old man's idea was for me to protect Yang Mu, but this happened. As soon as Yang Mu and Jimo were captured by the strange bird, the team members who contacted Harris and others quickly sent this message to the assessment through the secret channel. When Long Lai received the news, he immediately located Yang Mu's location, but strangely, Yang Mu's mecha information suddenly disappeared after a period of time, and there was no trace of it. Long Lai had searched the area intensively through satellite scanning and drones, but still could not find the location of Yang Mu and Jimo. This was the third day that Yang Mu and Jimo disappeared, and the mission had only started on the fifth day. I didn't expect such a thing to happen, and it was so tricky. Long Lai ignored Zhong Liang's sigh, but stared at the screen intently, thinking about what to do next. Do we really have to send ground troops to search? There are so many beasts on this planet, and intensive searches will definitely result in casualties. If we encounter super large animals, the casualties may be even greater. Hey, if you ask me, let me go and take a look. It's not a good idea to just wait here. Zhong Liang said his thoughts to Long Lai at this time. Long Lai turned his head, lowered his head and looked at Zhong Liang, and said, "If you just disappear in this jungle, the commander of the poison dragon will come and skin me alive, right? But if you can't find Yang Mu, are you waiting for the old man to skin you alive?" Zhong Liang said to Long Lai with a wry smile. Long Lai turned his head back and looked at the screen again. After a long time, he said something. "Wait a little longer." Zhong Liang shook his head in disappointment when he heard this. Long Lai's qualities in all aspects are outstanding, but sometimes he can't distinguish the importance of some issues and is a little indecisive. Zhong Liang got up and prepared to go out for some fresh air, but at this moment, there was a sudden vibration outside, and then an angry voice sounded. "Where is Long Lai? Let him out." Zhong Liang and Long Lai walked outside together, but saw a skybird mecha and a gray angel mecha standing at the entrance of the camp. Several soldiers were surrounding two boys wearing white combat armored uniforms, and one of the boys was roaring loudly and pushing several soldiers who were blocking his steps. Just at this time, Long Lai opened the door and walked outside. He saw a door in the camp open and two tall figures walked out. The two boys looked over. It was Ji Jin and Quinn. 2 days ago, when Ji Jin was carrying out his assessment task, he suddenly learned a message from the public channel, that is, to help search for the location of two people. At first, Ji Jin didn't realize what was wrong, but when Ji Jin accidentally heard that one of the two missing mechas was a bloodthirsty, Ji Jin immediately kicked his throat. Under Ji Jin's repeated questioning, the mission commander finally said the names of Jimo and Yang Mu. Ji Jin was immediately very surprised, and then he was very anxious. He didn't expect that his sister would still encounter an accident when she was in the same group with Yang Mu. He believed in Yang Mu's strength and assigned Jimo action like this without arguing with the instructor. But now, Jimo is in trouble, and Yang Mu is also in trouble. So when Ji Jin had not completed half of his assessment task, he handed over the captain's position to the deputy captain, and then left alone despite the persuasion of his teammates, ready to go to find Jimo and Yang Mu. On the way, Ji Jin happened to meet Quin's team. After informing Quin of the situation, the two of them went forward together. Fortunately, the location of the two teams was in the northern hemisphere, just like Yang Mu and others. At the same time, Yang Mu's position was driven by the strange bird to position close to the two teams, so that Jimo could go to the rescue as quickly as possible. However, after blindly searching within the approximate range for a day, the two did not get any useful clues and encountered danger several times. After escaping in a hurry, the two mechas were already short of ammunition and energy. Quin proposed to seek help, and at this time the two were not far from the end point, so they came here. But they didn't expect to be blocked. Seeing Long Lai, Ji Jin and Quin pushed the soldiers who were blocking them in front of them harder, stepped in front of Long Lai, and their eyes were already red. After saluting, Ji Jin immediately put forward his request. "Sir, I want to provide us with support so that we can rescue Jimo and Yang Mu." Nonsense. Long Lai was a little angry when he saw the other party's presumptuous behavior, and he shouted, "Go back and complete your assessment. We will have someone to deal with this matter." Long Lai issued an order to Ji Jin, but Ji Jin was unmoved, and Quin was standing beside him with a serious face. Zhong Liang looked at Long Lai, then looked at the young man in front of him, and a smile appeared on his face. "Instructor, that's my sister," Ji Jin said in a low voice with a cold face. "I know, but with your level, you can't help much. You will only cause trouble. Since you know that it's my sister, then you should agree. We are here to receive training on this planet. If we don't have the level, will you just throw us in such a place?" Ji Jin said even louder, and then walked to the front of Long Lai, raised his head and stared at Long Lai's eyes, gritting his teeth and said, "I'm her brother. Yang Mu is also my brother. I said I'm going, so I must go. That's right. If you delay for one more minute, Yang Mu and Jimo will be in more danger." Quin, who was standing next to him, also spoke at this time. "Shut up. I have the final say on this matter." Long Lai also stared at Ji Jin's eyes, exuding a strong aura, and said loudly, "Ha ha ha." At this moment, Zhong Liang, who was standing next to him, saw the scene and laughed immediately, then walked to Ji Jin's side and patted his shoulder. "Don't worry, young man, the Long family won't let you go. I'll go with you," Zhong Liang said loudly. Ji Jin and Quin turned their heads in surprise, looking at this strange middle-aged face with some confusion. When Long Lai heard Zhong Liang say this, he was also a little surprised and said to Zhong Liang, "Zhong Liang, what are you doing? You are making a mistake. To tell you the truth, the old man specifically told me something before I came." Zhong Liang turned his head and looked at Long Lai, and his plain eyes suddenly burst into brilliance. "The old man said that Yang Mu can't die here, Long Lai. The 3 years in prison have worn away all your edges. It turns out that you don't care about making mistakes, and you won't follow so many stupid rules." Chapter 114. A serious situation. Gurgle gurgle gurgle. In the clear sky, 2 bright moons illuminated a piece of grass by the lake. White steam was coming out of the portable gas cooker at this moment. Yang Mu was sitting on the grass next to it, watching the fire while checking the paper map in his hand with a tactical flashlight. This was the 3rd night that he and Jimo had been lost in the jungle. Both of them were very tired, and now they were lost. What's worse, Jimo was injured. After rescuing Jimo from the cockpit the day before yesterday, Yang Mu unexpectedly found that a component of the combat slot on Jimo's calf was broken. The sharp section directly pierced the carbon fiber lining material inside from the edge of the block armor and pierced into Jimo's calf. Fortunately, the wound was not deep, and Yang Mu quickly cleaned and bandaged the wound with a first aid kit. But since last night, Jimo has gradually become drowsy and started to have a fever at night. The whole person's condition has gradually become very bad. Yang Mu had already injected Jimo with 2 injections of antibiotics, but there was still no improvement. Yang Mu had just changed the wound medicine for Jimo again, and the wound was not getting better, but it didn't look like it was infected. Although Yang Mu only knew the simplest battlefield bandage, he didn't dare to give Jimo another injection of antibiotics. Jimo's already fragile body might not be able to withstand the power of 3 medicines in a short period of time. If something else happened at that time. In this wilderness, where there is no way to contact the outside world, it is really hopeless to cry out to the sky and the earth. Yang Mu looked at the paper map in his hand again and judged his approximate location based on the terrain. It is not very far from the location of the number 4 survey point, and it should be possible to reach there before the energy of the North Star is exhausted. As for Jimo's bloodthirsty, it was abandoned by Yang Mu at the landing site. The spine of the metro was completely cut off by the claws of the strange bird, and it was impossible to stand up again. Because of the fall from high altitude, several external image sensors of Polaris were also damaged, which resulted in Yang Mu being able to only display a small half of the image on the left side when using the holographic helmet to check the external situation. Yang Mu originally wanted to use the bloodthirsty image sensor to supplement it, but after dismantling 2 complete corner image sensors, Yang Mu found that the others were all damaged due to circuit problems. This also led to Yang Mu having to open the chest armor of the mecha when he was driving through the forest in the past 2 days, exposing the cockpit to the outside, and using the naked eye to identify the route and move through the jungle. Yang Mu did not think about driving the Annihilation in the necklace on his neck, but the problem was that Jimo was still awake, and Yang Mu could not do this. Annihilation was a secret that could not be revealed now. What's more, on this planet under the close surveillance of the military, if a mysterious mecha suddenly appeared, and if this mecha made some noise, the military would not be able to fail to notice it. The military could not fail to notice it. However, Yang Mu did not make some preparations for this backup. Since using Annihilation once on the Aquamarine, although the surface of Annihilation did not suffer any major damage, it consumed a huge amount of energy, and Annihilation's energy reserves were almost zero. So when Yang Mu was collecting the spare batteries of the Bloodthirsty, he also let Annihilation devour the 2 batteries in the Bloodthirsty, so that Annihilation's energy returned from 2% to 27%. Yang Mu, at this time, Jimo, who was lying not far from Yang Mu, woke up in a daze and shouted at Yang Mu. Yang Mu hurried forward, touched his forehead and checked Jimo's condition, and found that her fever had not subsided, and her face became more and more red. Yang Mu. I'm so cold, my head hurts so much, Jimo said weakly. Her voice was small, and the whole person looked very depressed. I'll make the fire bigger, you will be warmer over there, Yang Mu leaned over and said with concern, then reached out and picked up Jimo, holding her and putting her closer to the fire, and at the same time added some firewood to the fire to make it burn bigger. Jimo, drink some water and eat something later. Yang Mu took out the water bottle from his body and handed it to Jimo's mouth. It contained the vitamin saline solution that everyone was equipped with before departure, in order to replenish the physical strength of the team members, and also to prevent the team members from drinking the water on this planet as much as possible. But now there is only half a bottle left. The water bottle was handed to Jimo's mouth, but Jimo's mouth was tightly closed and he didn't drink it. Yang Mu looked at this situation and his expression became more worried. Jimo's current condition was obviously very bad, and he was always on the edge of danger. If he didn't eat anything, how many days could Jimo last? How long would it take for him to get out of this jungle? Damn it! Why is there no signal at this time? Yang Mu cursed in his heart. Yang Mu, who had experienced so many storms, was still stretched when he encountered this incident. After falling to the ground, Yang Mu could no longer receive any signal after driving the mecha to the designated location for less than a few kilometers, and he was just in the vast forest. This is almost fatal, especially when Jimo is still in this condition. Yang Mu took a deep breath, stretched out his hand to scoop out a spoonful of soup that had just been cooked in the gas cooker, blew it gently to cool it, and handed it to Jimo's mouth. Jimo, listen to me, you must drink it, drinking it can save your life, Yang Mu said with concern, coaxing Jimo. Jimo, who was in a daze, was wilted all over. In Yang Mu's words, she slowly turned her head and seemed to have taken a lot of effort to open her mouth. Yang Mu slowly poured the thick soup into Jimo's mouth, but Jimo half drank and half spit it out, and there was no effect at all. He wiped Jimo's mouth with a tissue, and looked at Jimo's increasingly serious condition, and became more anxious. This situation simply made Yang Mu helpless. On the battlefield, if his comrades were injured, Yang Mu would immediately press their bleeding wounds, quickly bandage them, and stabilize the injuries. But in this situation, invisible changes occurred in Jimo's body, but Yang Mu could do nothing. No, Jimo must be taken out immediately. Yang Mu immediately made up his mind that Jimo could not stay here like this any longer. Every extra minute he stayed would be a minute more dangerous. Yang Mu had to seize all the time to take Jimo out as soon as possible. Thinking of this, Yang Mu immediately stood up and packed his things, then picked up Jimo, fixed Jimo's body on his back with a buckle, and then climbed into the cockpit of the Polaris. Turning on various instruments, the mecha gradually lit up, but Yang Mu turned off all the lights one by one, leaving only a few lights in the exposed cockpit. In this primitive jungle, turning on the lights will make you a more prominent target, and it will consume the energy of the battery. Now, I only have 5 energy batteries left. I don't know how long it will take to go out. Yang Mu needs to save a little energy. In fact, Yang Mu has already prepared to walk after the energy is exhausted. But I must send Jimo out as soon as possible. Manipulating the mecha to find the direction of the number 4 survey point, Yang Mu stepped forward. There was a big lake in front of him. He had originally wanted to come here to confirm his position by observing the stars in the vast sky, but now the vast lake became a barrier. Yang Mu could not waste precious energy to fly over, so he could only slowly go around it. The small cockpit was not spacious enough to accommodate Yang Mu and Jimo, who was now lying on Yang Mu's back, had her head resting on Yang Mu's shoulders. In order to make Jimo feel more relaxed, Yang Mu had to lean forward to leave her more space. The mecha clattered through the woods, and Yang Mu slowly manipulated the mecha forward, but at this moment, Yang Mu suddenly heard a sound. It came from the lake next to him. When he turned around to check, he only saw a large splash of water with ripples under the illumination of the 2 moons in the sky. Yang Mu frowned. Chapter 115, Giant Crocodile in the Lake. Looking at the huge ripples not far from the wide lake, Yang Mu felt a depressing atmosphere coming over him, and the sound of insects around him seemed to have decreased a lot. Yang Mu looked carefully for a few seconds, but there was no movement, so he gave up and didn't waste any more time here, just thinking that he was too nervous just now. Yang Mu turned around and walked in the predetermined direction again, controlling the North Star. But a few seconds later, another splash of water sounded on the lake behind Yang Mu's left, and the sound was still not far away from him. Yang Mu paused, turned around carefully, and looked at the lake not far away again. It seems that there are really some different creatures in it. Yang Mu turned on the thermal imaging scanner, but all he got was a piece of blue, and he couldn't see what was in the lake. But this time Yang Mu was still careful, and controlled the mecha to walk towards a path farther away from the lake, ready to avoid this unknown risk. But after walking a few steps, a few strings of large bubbles suddenly appeared on the lake not far in front of Yang Mu, and Yang Mu's eyes widened immediately. Yang Mu carefully lowered the front armor of the Polaris, took off the mask of the holographic helmet, and then put the long knife in his hand to the weapon rack behind him, and pulled out the giant axe hanging on the weapon rack. This is the cold weapon of the bloodthirsty, a long-handled axe, with serrations at the bottom of the axe blade, which is used to hook the parts of the enemy mecha when splitting it, pulling the opponent down, or pulling out the components inside. The axe obviously has such a role here. The long knife cannot be used in such a jungle area, but the axe can be used with great power. Holding the long-handled axe, Yang Mu carefully manipulated the mecha to move forward 2 steps, his eyes carefully staring at the broken image on the holographic helmet. Click suddenly, a sound suddenly sounded in front of Yang Mu's left. Yang Mu immediately manipulated the mecha to turn around, carefully guarding there, and then suddenly turned on the 2 lights in the depression of the front chest armor. The yellow-white light shone there, and Yang Mu saw the situation there clearly. It turned out to be a huge crocodile-like creature. It was huge, about 6 or 7 meters long, with a bloody mouth that was more than 1 meter long. It was covered with fine scales, but it had 6 legs. Fortunately, it only had 1. Yang Mu carefully looked around and confirmed that there was only this huge creature. He immediately backed away slowly. Yang Mu did not want to get entangled with this unknown creature. He just hoped that the other party had no interest in him now and would let him leave. Yang Mu backed away carefully, wanting to leave here vigilantly. But obviously the giant crocodile did not let him go. After being illuminated by the light for a few seconds, the giant crocodile seemed to no longer hesitate and crawled towards Yang Mu, faster and faster. Yang Mu looked at this sudden situation and quickly backed away, holding the axe in his hand tighter. But the giant crocodile was getting faster and faster, and it was about to reach Yang Mu's feet. Yang Mu stopped and was not going to back away. This beast obviously regarded him as a target. No matter how he retreated, he would be entangled by it. Since you want my life, then give it a try. Yang Mu, who had been wandering in the jungle for 3 days, was also filled with anger at this moment. He raised a giant axe in his hand slightly, manipulated the mecha to take a step forward, and chopped down with the axe. The giant crocodile was also not afraid, and rushed directly towards Yang Mu's mecha. Pula! The giant axe in Yang Mu's hand came into close contact with the giant crocodile's head. The giant crocodile was knocked to one side by Yang Mu's blow, but Yang Mu was horrified to find that his axe did not cause any substantial damage to it, but only cut a hole in the scales of the opponent. Yang Mu quickly manipulated the mecha to distance himself from the giant crocodile. The giant crocodile also reacted in the next second, and its 6 legs moved at the same time, rushing towards Yang Mu again. Yang Mu immediately took the axe to fight. The sound of branches breaking was heard from time to time in the forest by the lake, and 2 bright lights kept flashing in the jungle, appearing and disappearing from time to time. Yang Mu used his giant axe to cut off a branch, and then stabbed it directly into the giant crocodile's mouth, pulling away from the giant crocodile again. 1 man and 1 giant crocodile smashed a large open space in the jungle by the lake. Yang Mu's North Star was already scarred, and one of the giant crocodile's eyes was now bleeding green blood, and there was a hideous crack on the lower jaw. Yang Mu stood in the cockpit panting, and turned his head to look at Jimo on his back. She was now lying quietly on Yang Mu's back, breathing steadily, and it seemed that she had fallen asleep. Hoo-la-la! The giant crocodile not far from the North Star mecha shook a branch in its mouth, shook its head, and then looked in the direction of Yang Mu again. Yang Mu frowned, and quickly glanced at the energy of the mecha, which was only 10%. The image in the holographic helmet was now shaking, and half of the image was always flashing. Yang Mu insisted on fighting in this state. Now, both sides of the battle were half blind. After a moment, the giant crocodile rushed towards Yang Mu again. Yang Mu clenched the axe in his hand and stared at the giant crocodile. Yang Mu shouted and rushed towards the other side. The body of the Polaris and the body of the giant crocodile collided quickly, but Yang Mu was terrified. At some point, the giant crocodile actually understood his attack mode. When he raised his axe and chopped it down fiercely, he used his 2 claws on the left to slap the mechanical right hand of the Polaris mecha holding the axe handle. The sharp claws directly scraped off most of the parts on the Polaris mechanical arm, and the axe in the right hand fell. At this time, the giant crocodile opened its bloody mouth and bit the head of the Polaris mecha fiercely. Yang Mu's left leg quickly made a supporting movement backwards, and all the engines behind him were turned on. The left hand that controlled the mecha directly grabbed the upper jaw of the giant crocodile and pulled the giant crocodile's head to the side. Perhaps it was because Yang Mu's left hand grabbed the wound in the giant crocodile's mouth. The giant crocodile kept struggling, and several claws stretched forward, but it could not cause any damage to Yang Mu's mecha. Yang Mu urged all the engines on the mecha to withstand the giant crocodile's struggling force, and then stretched his right mechanical arm, which was already somewhat fragmented, behind his back. There was a buckle on the long knife that could be connected to the main component of the mecha arm. Yang Mu immediately used it to lock the long knife on his back. The long knife was pulled out, and Yang Mu's face showed a fierce expression. The blade of the whole long knife was facing up and stabbed into the belly of the giant crocodile from the lower right side. Yang Mu roared, and controlled the right hand of the mecha, holding the long knife and pulling it diagonally upward from the incision on the lower abdomen of the giant crocodile. Green blood flowed out, and the giant crocodile struggled hard, but it was already fatally injured and gradually stopped struggling. After a moment, Polaris's left arm put down the body of the giant crocodile and staggered back 2 steps. Yang Mu took a deep breath, looked at the energy that was about to run out, and took out the 2 hot energy batteries on his waist and put the other 2 in. Looking at the huge crocodile corpse in front of him, Yang Mu paused for a moment, picked up the axe on the ground, put it on his back, turned around, and walked towards the forest in a trance. Suddenly, Yang Mu's feet were empty, and then Yang Mu felt that the entire mecha fell to the ground and slid down. This place turned out to be a slope. In the previous battle, Yang Mu did not notice this situation under his feet at all. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116 Discovery. The Polaris mecha slid down the slope out of control. The slope was not very steep, but the huge mecha fell down suddenly, and the speed of sliding down was increasing little by little. Looking at the surrounding trees brushing past him one by one, Yang Mu felt a little scared. The mecha was sliding down so fast. If something went wrong in the middle and it was directly blocked by some stone or tree, the scarred Polaris would definitely suffer a heavy blow, and Jimo behind him might not be able to withstand such damage. Thinking of this, Yang Mu struggled to turn the mecha from lying on its back to lying on its stomach. The mecha still slid down the slope uncontrollably. Yang Mu used the only intact left hand of the mecha to pull out the axe behind him with difficulty, and then found the right opportunity and swung the axe fiercely to chop the tree on the right that was about to pass by him. The huge momentum drove the axe to cut off several trees in succession, and finally it was stopped by a tree with a thick waist. The slot under the axe blade was stuck on the tree trunk, and the Polaris mecha finally stopped. Panting, Yang Mu didn't bother to wipe the sweat off his face. He turned his head and glanced at Jimo behind him, and found that she was still sleeping soundly. Yang Mu gritted his teeth and locked the axe in his hand with the left hand of the mecha. Yang Mu endured the pain gradually coming from his feet and slowly moved the mecha upwards. In order not to occupy the space behind Jimo, Yang Mu made his movements very slow, and at the same time ensured that the posture was not very large every time he moved. Little by little, Yang Mu manipulated the embarrassed Polaris mecha lying on the ground to slowly move between the two trees. The mecha lay on the ground, and its two mechanical legs pressed against the trunks of the two trees under its feet, so that the huge mecha body would not slide down again. Yang Mu's face was now covered with sweat. He struggled and stretched out his right hand, opened the holographic mask, wiped the sweat from his eyes, and grinned in pain. Just when he slid down, the connection of his mecha's lower limbs should have been directly hit by the tree. Perhaps because of the angle, the attack actually passed through the mecha's protective armor and directly reached Yang Mu's right calf. It seemed that there were parts damaged in the combat slot. Yang Mu could feel a squeeze at the knee joint of his right leg. As long as he bent his right leg, he would feel a stinging sensation as if something pierced his skin. Yang Mu tried to unlock the combat control slot, but he couldn't do it, not to mention that Jimo was still on his back. Yang Mu could only continue to endure the pain and slowly propped himself up with the two hands of the mecha, preparing to sit up straight and then slowly solve the problem with his legs. After turning the North Star over with difficulty, Yang Mu sat up the upper body of the mech, took 2 deep breaths, and prepared to untie Jimo from his back first, and then tried to find a way to move his right leg out to see the situation. Yang Mu manipulated the arm of the mech to stabilize his body, but at this moment, Yang Mu suddenly felt that the left hand of the mech seemed to press into something and sank directly into it. Yang Mu put on the holographic mask and quickly looked to the side, only to find that the left side of the mech was stuck in a pit, and it looked like a hole. Yang Mu manipulated the mech to shine the light over, but was shocked by the scene in front of him. Did Yang Mu really say that he would come here? At the number 4 survey point, Long Lai was standing under several mechas and asked several students in front of him. These students were the teammates of Yang Mu's team, and now they all came to attack this number 4 survey point. Harris looked at the teammates beside him, then stood up, raised his head and chest and said to Long Lai, "Report to the chief instructor." Before Yang Mu was captured by the strange bird, he did tell us to come here to join us. But Harris lowered his head when he said this, which clearly showed the current situation. Long Lai looked at the students in front of him with a serious face, waved his hand, and said, "You continue to complete your mission area, and leave this matter to us to solve." Harry and other team members who were looking down raised their heads in surprise at this time and looked at Long Lai. Harris immediately said what everyone was thinking at the moment. "Chief Instructor, we asked to participate in this search and rescue operation. Yang Mu is our captain. He was in danger for us." Long Lai gave him a cold look, swept across everyone's face, and said coldly, "This is not something you need to care about." Harris stepped forward and wanted to say something, but Long Lai spoke first, pointing to Zuyi lying on a stretcher not far away, and then said, "This is my order to you, send him out safely." Listening to Long Lai's stern words, Harris and others all lowered their heads at this time. "Okay, disperse, go and complete the tasks assigned by your instructor. We will take care of this matter." At this time, Zhang Liang came from nowhere, walked in front of the crowd, and dismissed everyone with a smile. Long Lai turned his head and looked at Zhang Liang, with a questioning look in his eyes. Yang Mu has never been here, keep looking. Long Lai saw Zhang Liang shook his head, and his heart gradually sank. It's been 4 days, and the two little guys are probably in danger. Hey, where are those two guys? Zhang Liang didn't seem so depressed, but looked around, looking for Jijin and Quinn who came with him. I don't know, it seems that they went to the forest over there, Long Lai said coldly, then turned around, took out the monitor in his backpack, and began to carefully check the map of this place. Zhang Liang grinned, and didn't say anything about Long Lai's situation. Yesterday, he scolded him, and Long Lai somehow agreed to his plan to go out with Jijin and Quinn to find Yang Mu. Not only that, he also found a mecha and participated in the operation. The first point everyone came to was the meeting place that Yang Mu agreed with everyone in the feedback. Zhang Liang glanced at Long Lai and was about to take out the cigarettes in his pocket, but he saw Jijin and Quinn running towards him in the forest not far away. Zhang Liang put away the cigarette box in his hand, patted Long Lai on the shoulder, and looked over. Instructor Zhang, we found a clue. Quinn ran to Zhang Liang, supported his knees with his hands, panting, and said. What? Long Lai heard this and his eyes suddenly burst into a gleam and looked over. Zhang Liang also widened his eyes a little, looked at Quinn, and said, Speak slowly, what clues did you find? Quinn took a breath, then pointed to the forest he had just come from, and said to Zhang Liang. Jijin said that Jimo and Yang Mu are over there. Long Lai and Zhang Liang frowned at Quinn's words. It was obvious that they did not understand the meaning of this sentence. They turned their heads to look at Jijin who was standing next to them. Jijin, how do you know they are over there? Long Lai asked anxiously. Jijin's face did not change at all, but he put on the helmet of his combat uniform. Intuition, I can feel that Jimo and the others are over there. After saying this, Jijin turned around and walked quickly towards his mecha. Long Lai listened to the other party's inexplicable words and became more confused. He wanted to ask something, but at this time Zhang Liang next to him seemed to remember something and snatched the display panel from Long Lai's hand. After sliding a few times, Zhang Liang's face showed an expression of sudden enlightenment. Long Lai looked over, and Zhang Liang raised his head to Long Lai, pointing to the panel and said, That kid is right, this direction is the same direction as the place where Yang Mu fell. Yang Mu is indeed very likely to be on this road. Chapter 117 Out of the Forest. The day slowly arrived in the northern hemisphere of Hades. The long-lost sunlight passed through the loopholes in the clouds in the sky, casting beams of light, and then passed through the gaps between the trees, shining on the ground of the dense forest. In the forest, a mottled mecha was trudging, waving the long knife in his hand from time to cut off the branches blocking the mecha. After a while, the mecha finally passed through the dense forest and came to a piece of wasteland in the forest. Yang Mu looked at the terrain that suddenly opened up in front of him, and then looked at the signal that appeared on the display screen in the mecha cockpit, and his heart was happy. Yang Mu controlled the mecha named Javelin and quickly walked to the wasteland, and then sent a signal to the sky. The mecha Yang Mu was driving now was not his original Polaris, but a mottled, mossy, and slightly broken mecha. As for where this mecha came from, it had to start from the hole that Yang Mu accidentally discovered last night. The hole was not a natural hole, but the head of a mecha. When Yang Mu's mecha's light shone over, he saw a broken mecha connected by several trees, and his left hand was pressing on the head of the mecha. However, the place where the head was originally was like it had suffered a heavy blow, and then it was sunken. When Yang Mu saw this mecha that was gradually being eroded by the surrounding environment for the first time, he also had goosebumps all over his body. But after calming down, Yang Mu was curious about why this strange mecha appeared here. Yang Mu thought about it and wanted to get out of the Polaris mecha to check the situation. However, the squeezing feeling on his right foot took Yang Mu a lot of effort. It seemed that two transmission parts were deformed and finally stuck the armor on Yang Mu's right foot. In order to pry it open and let his leg withdraw from it, Yang Mu had to use the knife on his body to pry open the armor on it, and then took some effort to cut open the carbon fiber material lining and pulled out a bare calf from it. After cleaning the abrasions on his calf, Yang Mu reached out and put the cut right calf pants on his calf, fixed it with a very sticky medical adhesive, and then put Jimo in the cockpit, jumped off the mecha alone, and came to the mecha that appeared inexplicably. After carefully observing the situation of the mecha, Yang Mu climbed up and opened the front chest armor of the mecha, and then was surprised to find that there was a skeleton lying inside. a skeleton in an armored combat suit. The cause of death should be something that pierced the cockpit directly from the back of the mecha, and also penetrated the driver from the chest, killing him in an instant. Yang Mu carefully got in and connected the combat suit on the skeleton with a personal terminal. He knew that this person was called Xiao Wei, a student of the first term of Kunlun College. The student who was defined as dead because of his disappearance. Unexpectedly, he really died here and turned into a pile of bones, and no one knew. Yang Mu mourned for this senior in his heart for a moment, and then when he was about to go out, he accidentally kicked the starter in the mecha with his foot, and then this mottled and rusty mecha actually started. Yang Mu squatted down and carefully observed the mecha, and found that except for the main thrusters at the head and rear of the mecha that were damaged, the rest were all good, and the weapons and ammunition on it were very sufficient. Compared with the Polaris, which was also broken, exhausted, and the right arm could not be used, this mecha was obviously better. Moreover, the image transmitter of this mecha was not damaged, and the image was clear when connected to Yang Mu's holographic helmet. This situation suddenly made Yang Mu feel a little bit of light at last. In the end, Yang Mu chose to requisition this mecha, carefully packed the body of the senior, placed it on the shelf behind the mecha, and then moved the scattered materials on the North Star to this mecha. Of course, Yang Mu still made the best use of it. Yang Mu took the things on the North Star and tried to let Annihilation absorb some of them, especially in the engine part. Annihilation absorbed some materials. After some preparation, Yang Mu took Jimo and drove the mecha of the senior into the jungle. After a night of trekking, Yang Mu was surprised to find that this mecha could actually receive satellite signals. It seems that the original North Star had no signal because the instrument was damaged, but now it can be used. Yang Mu will use its value. Student Yang Mu asks for help. Location East Longitude XXX, North Latitude XXX, Communication Authorization Password XXXXX. Standing on the wasteland, watching the message being sent out smoothly, Yang Mu finally breathed a sigh of relief, then looked at Jimo behind him, touched her forehead. It seemed that the fever had subsided a little, and her face was not as red as before. It seems that Jimo's condition is getting better, which is a good thing. After Yang Mu finished these things, the next step is to wait for rescue. Yang Mu drove the mecha to a tree beside him, ready to go down to rest and replenish himself with energy. He had not eaten for a day, and the wound on Jimo's foot also needed to be cleaned up, otherwise there would be problems. Thinking of this, Yang Mu stopped the mecha steadily, carried Jimo out of the mecha on his back, and let her breathe a few breaths of fresh air. A moment later, Yang Mu had just applied medicine to Jimo and himself, but Yang Mu suddenly heard a whistle from the sky. Yang Mu immediately stood up and looked up at the sky vigilantly. There was a black spot in the distance in the sky, which seemed to be getting bigger and bigger. Yang Mu looked over with wide eyes and found that it was a bird. That thing seemed to be coming here. This thought suddenly came to Yang Mu's mind, and the surprised expression on his face flashed by. Then he quickly carried Jimo on his back, and without even cleaning up the scattered things on the ground, he crawled to the cockpit of the javelin next to him. No matter what this thing was coming here, Yang Mu realized that he had just forgotten an important thing. In such an open plain, it would usually be a hunting ground for large birds. Because in the sky, everything in this open field can be seen clearly. Moreover, some birds have a very keen sense of electromagnetic waves, and things on this planet may also be, or even more sensitive. Perhaps this bird was found by the electromagnetic wave signal it sent out. But the most urgent task is to take Jimo to hide in the forest first. As long as the rescue team arrives, such things will not be a threat. Pula, Long Lai controlled the mecha and swung his two swords to cut off the two legs of the huge spider in front of him. The spider felt pain and spit out acid in the direction of Long Lai, but Ji Jin, who rushed over, blocked it directly with a tree. Long Lai immediately seized this opportunity, controlled the mecha to soar into the air, quickly twisted his body in the air, and then the next moment he inserted the two long swords into the head of the huge spider and stirred it fiercely a few times. The spider fell down with a bang, and Long Lai drew out his long sword. Just as he was about to wipe off the green blood on it, he suddenly received a reply from the soldiers in the garrison in the holographic helmet. "Captain Long," Yang Mu replied. Long Lai was startled, and then quickly asked, "What? Where?" "I sent you the address, but it was not sent by one of the two mechas they belong to. It was from the javelin that disappeared last year, Xiao Wei." Long Lai showed a trace of disbelief on his face. He didn't expect such a surprising thing to appear at this time. Could it be that Xiao Wei was not dead and brought Yang Yu and others out? Okay, let the drone rescue team go there immediately. We will go there now. Long Lai quickly cut off the call, opened the address that had been transmitted, confirmed Yang Yu's location, and looked up at the other 3 people in the field. Zhang Liang and others noticed that Long Lai was different, and they all looked at Long Lai. Long Lai let out a sigh of relief and said to the 3 people, Yang Yu and Jimo have been found. Chapter 118, Encountering a Strange Bird Again. Yang Yu quickly controlled the javelin mech and took Jimo into the forest next to him, but before he took a few steps inside, he heard the sound of flapping wings from behind. At the same time, a gust of wind blew across the entire forest. Yang Yu saw that the strange bird had arrived so quickly, so he could only hide the javelin mech under a thick tree immediately, hoping that the big bird would not find him. A bird cry came, and Yang Yu carefully watched the situation on the holographic helmet. The strange bird could not see Yang Yu's mech after landing, but it seemed a little strange. Its huge head looked around, as if looking for Yang Yu's whereabouts. Suddenly, the strange bird seemed to have discovered the items that Yang Yu had not had time to take away just now, and it fiddled with the ground with its sharp beak, and then immediately came towards Yang Yu. Yang Yu's heart immediately lifted up, and he stretched out his hand and slowly pulled out the axe behind the mech. The strange bird slowly walked towards Yang Yu, and Yang Yu also held the axe in his hand tightly, ready to swing it. Yang Yu could even hear the breathing of the strange bird, which was gradually approaching him. Yang Yu was ready to fight directly with the opponent, but at this moment, the strange bird suddenly stopped. Yang Yu hurriedly paid attention to the situation, but heard the sound of the strange bird slowly retreating, and Yang Yu felt a little relieved. But suddenly, before Yang Yu could really breathe a sigh of relief, the sharp cry of the strange bird came from behind Yang Yu, and the sound was deafening. Yang Yu knew that something was wrong. The strange bird actually knew his position and was just playing hard to get and bluffing. Yang Yu jumped out from behind the tree with an axe, and at this time the strange bird also pecked at Yang Yu's mecha with its long beak. Yang Yu used the axe to fiercely block the sharp beak of the strange bird, but at this moment, Yang Yu also discovered something incredible. That is, this strange bird turned out to be the strange bird that put him and Jimo in such a situation last time. The deep wound on its right foot was enough to prove that it was the big bird. This is really a narrow road for enemies. Surprised, Yang Yu quickly retreated in his mecha, and the strange bird saw that his attack did not work, and rushed over even more angrily, flapping its wings to sweep down all the surrounding trees, and approach the javelin driven by Yang Yu. Yang Yu naturally could not fight this strange bird head-on. His mecha was not as long as the opponent's sharp beak, and the attack power that the opponent could exert would definitely be very powerful. With his mecha, he would definitely not be able to stop it. What's more, he was carrying Jimo on his back. Yang Yu retreated quickly while resisting the tree debris brought by the attack of the strange bird. After barely avoiding the attack of the strange bird again, Yang Yu broke out in a cold sweat, because his mecha was almost out of energy. Although he still had a pair of spare batteries, the current situation was that the strange bird's intensive attacks made him overwhelmed and he had no time to replace the spare batteries. Not only that, he didn't know when he had been forced to the edge of the forest again by it, and if he retreated further, it would be a wasteland. There will be no way to avoid it, and you will become a fish on the chopping board. Let the bird slaughter you. Yang Yu was very anxious, and at this time, the red words on the holographic helmet of the mecha began to flash, and the energy was already as low as it could be. The speed of the mecha was decreasing rapidly. Yang Yu wanted to control the mecha to avoid the attack of the strange bird again, but no matter how Yang Yu stepped on the control pedal, the speed of the mecha was still decreasing madly. Bang! A huge crash sound came, and Yang Yu showed a painful expression on his face. The whole mecha flew directly to the back and then fell heavily to the ground. The strange bird saw Yang Yu's mecha being swept away by itself, and it cried excitedly again. Yang Yu ignored the pain in his body, untied Jimo on his back, opened the front armor of the mecha, and jumped out immediately. It seemed that the strange bird saw something coming out of it, and immediately rushed towards the javelin mecha again. Yang Yu looked at the huge strange bird in front of him, and a trace of sharpness appeared in his eyes. The next moment, Yang Yu pulled off the necklace on his neck, and immediately released Annihilation. A black mecha appeared out of thin air on the open space. The strange bird looked at the new thing that suddenly appeared, and gradually stopped, and his eyes kept looking at the black mecha. Taking advantage of the gap when the strange bird stopped, Yang Mu immediately climbed into the cockpit of Annihilation, put his hands and feet into the battle slot, and the green line appeared again, allowing Yang Mu to see the situation outside quickly. After feeling the operating system of Annihilation for a while, Yang Mu decisively pulled out the two long knives behind him, and the sharp blades pointed directly at the strange bird. The strange bird also immediately felt Yang Mu's murderous aura, spread its wings and screamed loudly, and then pounced in the direction of Yang Mu. Yang Mu's face was also fearless, with a flash of light in his eyes, and he directly controlled the mecha to rush towards the strange bird. Jimo was behind him at this time. If he didn't lead the strange bird away, it would probably bring danger to the unconscious Jimo. Thinking of this, Yang Mu manipulated Annihilation's two long swords to make a knife flower, and immediately chopped it hard on the bird's beak. The bird felt pain, turned around and looked at the black mecha that had missed its body, and rushed over again quickly. Seeing that the bird was led away by himself, Yang Mu immediately manipulated the mecha to stop, turned around, and looked directly at the bird rushing over. Annihilation rushed towards the bird again with two long swords. Crossing the two long swords in front of his chest, Yang Mu's eyes stared at the chest of the bird. Although Annihilation's combat power is strong, Yang Mu is facing this kind of creature for the first time after all. He doesn't know what powerful skills this bird has, and Annihilation's energy is not much, and the energy will be consumed more quickly in fierce fighting. So Yang Mu wants to fight quickly. And the most effective way is to directly hit the opponent's vital parts. The bird and the armor collided again, and Yang Mu made a difficult side-cutting action, but was blocked by the wings of the bird, and failed to achieve his goal smoothly. The strange bird screamed again, and Yang Mu immediately turned around, shook off the bloody feathers stuck on the long sword, and rushed towards the strange bird again. The sharp cries of birds were heard from time to time in the forest, intertwined with the sound of metal collision. Yang Mu controlled the mecha to cut holes in the body of the strange bird from time to time, and green blood flowed out of the wounds of the strange bird from time to time. Yang Mu looked at this scene, but he was happy in his heart. The balance of victory was tilting towards him. Chapter 119 Rescue arrives. Seeing the changes in the strange bird in front of him, Yang Mu once again increased the attack frequency of the mecha, and manipulated the long sword of the mecha to leave more wounds on the opponent's body. The strange bird was even more frightened and angry by the injury, flapping its wings and trying to fly. Yang Mu saw that the strange bird actually wanted to leave like this, but in order to prevent future troubles, Yang Mu was not prepared to send this strange bird away. Before the rescue team came, he had to fight to the death with the strange bird. Manipulating the mecha to directly spray out a powerful flame, the whole body of the mecha immediately rushed up. Yang Mu seized the opportunity and slashed directly at the opponent's thigh. The strange bird screamed and struggled violently, and one claw suddenly swept towards the Annihilation driven by Yang Mu. Not good. Yang Mu did not expect that this strange bird could actually make such a move in the air, and it seemed that it would definitely be directly hit this time. Yang Mu tried to twist the mecha with his greatest strength, but he still watched the sharp claw sweeping towards him. A huge slapping sound was heard, and Yang Mu's entire mecha rolled and flew backwards, crashing into several large trees before slowly stopping. But this was not over yet. It seemed that seeing that he had successfully knocked down the black mecha, the strange bird suddenly became excited and did not choose to escape again, but waved its sharp claws again and pounced on Yang Mu. Yang Mu naturally saw the strange bird's movements clearly, but before Yang Mu could control Annihilation to stand up, the sharp claws grabbed Annihilation's black fuselage and then pounced forward. The sharp claws pressed Annihilation into the soil and plowed a deep mark forward. Yang Mu was a little flustered by the continuous attacks of the strange bird, but fortunately, Annihilation's external armor used a special structure, and the sharp claws did not destroy the armor, but only scratched a few deep white marks on it. Yang Mu struggled to pick up his long sword, held it in reverse, and fiercely scratched the claws of the strange bird that grabbed him. The sharp long knife was very generous, leaving a deep scar on the bird's claws. The bird, in pain, let go of Annihilation the next moment, and Yang Mu also seized this opportunity. The engine behind him sprayed a powerful flame and quickly distanced himself from the bird. The bird turned around, but Yang Mu had already launched an attack, and the two long knives stabbed straight into the bird's chest. The bird may not have reacted immediately. Yang Mu easily broke through the obstruction of the bird's two wings, and the long knife in his right hand stabbed the bird's chest fiercely. Hey! The bird screamed in pain and struggled violently. Green blood flowed to Annihilation's body, and then Annihilation was shaken away by the huge movement of the bird. After regaining his balance, Yang Mu immediately raised his head again to look at the bird, but saw that it was swaying as if it was about to leave. Yang Mu's heart was filled with murderous intent, and he was about to control the mecha to catch up with the bird that had already taken off. Da 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 da. Suddenly, a burst of dense gunfire sounded. Yang Mu looked up and found that several small aircraft passed by his head. Each aircraft sprayed a stream of metal fire and attacked the injured bird. Yang Mu breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at the situation in front of him, he understood that this was the arrival of reinforcements, and his crisis was temporarily relieved. But suddenly, a few red dots flashed in Yang Mu's eyes. 4 red dots were moving quickly towards this side in the forest behind him. Yang Mu immediately turned his head to look over, but found that they were several mechas. Yang Mu was relieved immediately. The reinforcements had completely arrived. Now he really had no threat. But suddenly, Yang Mu thought of a problem, that is, he was still wearing the Annihilation, and this mecha could not be exposed here. Fortunately, the 4 mechas came from the opposite place of the Javelin mecha. As long as he returned to the Javelin mecha as soon as possible, he might be able to save the situation. Without saying a word, Yang Mu immediately manipulated the mecha to turn his body and ram towards the location of the Javelin mecha. At this time, the strange bird in the sky let out a wail, and then its huge body slowly fell to the ground. Seeing this situation, Yang Mu walked forward faster. Without the threat of the strange bird, the mechas that came would definitely search for his whereabouts immediately, and he didn't have much time left. Yang Mu quickly came to the location of the Javelin mecha, quickly jumped off the Annihilation, and then put it away with a necklace. At the same time, he immediately got into the Javelin mecha and carried Jimo out. Yang Mu, who was holding Jimo, stood in front of the fallen Javelin, and then watched the 4 mechas that were rushing towards here from a distance. The 4 mechas came to Yang Mu in a dusty manner, and then each opened the front chest armor of the mecha from the inside. Looking at the people coming out, Yang Mu suddenly opened his mouth wide. Long Lai, Zhang Liang, Ji Jin, and Qin. I didn't expect that the 4 of them would come to rescue me in the end. Yang Mu took Jimo and walked forward 2 steps. Ji Jin, who had just come down from the mecha, immediately noticed Jimo's condition. He rushed forward anxiously, took Jimo from Yang Mu's hands, and then looked at Yang Mu deeply. The calf seems to be injured and infected. He has been having a fever for the past 2 days. Yang Mu immediately told Ji Jin about this situation. Ji Jin nodded, held Jimo aside, and then took out a small medicine bottle from his combat uniform backpack, poured out a pill for Jimo to take. Yang Mu, are you okay? At this time, Qin also rushed forward, looked at Yang Mu carefully, and then asked with concern. Yang Mu smiled and nodded, and looked at Zhang Liang who was standing aside. Yang Mu didn't expect Zhang Liang to appear here. Could it be that old man Yan meant it? Seeing the puzzled expression on Yang Mu's face, Zhang Liang laughed and walked up, patted Yang Mu on the shoulder, and also looked at Yang Mu's condition. It's good that you're out. Now I can report to the old man. At this time, Long Lai, who was standing not far away, checked the situation at the scene, and then issued an order to the garrison, asking them to send a plane to pick up people. After issuing the order, Long Li walked straight to Yang Mu's side, and glanced at the rusty and scarred javelin lying behind Yang Mu. Yang Mu, where did you find this mecha? Long Li immediately asked Yang Mu, with a hint of confusion in his tone. Looking at the other party's eyes, Yang Mu naturally understood what Long Li wanted to ask. Yang Mu immediately sighed and shook his head. I found it by chance in a valley, but the senior has become a pile of bones. I put him on the weapon rack. Yang Mu turned around and pointed at the javelin behind him, saying in a heavy tone. Thanks to this mecha, Jimo and I were able to escape from the mouth of that strange bird just now. I caught a bad cold and my condition has deteriorated greatly. Please forgive me. Chapter 120 Return. Sitting by the porthole in the transport starship room, Yang Mu looked at another frigate outside the starship, the dragon-catching ship. It was not until he saw the tail of the frigate begin to spit out a blue beam of light that Yang Mu came back from his previous trance. After he and Jimo were successfully rescued 2 days ago, Yang Mu stayed in the garrison, writing a summary report while recovering his physical condition. After that, students gradually reached the endpoints successfully, and Yang Mu also watched the 7 people in his team return to the endpoints smoothly. After they safely sent Zuya to the key medical point, they returned to the assessment. The assessment regulations require that each team successfully reach the endpoint within 10 days, and during this period, they had to survey 6 different resource points. And they finally completed the task successfully, and each member of the team received a good score. It was at this time that Yang Mu realized that this assessment was directly linked to the resource tilt of each person in the future. If you have outstanding abilities, you can get sufficient resources, and if you are at the bottom of the strength, you can only clean the toilet. During the 3-month training period, everyone is equal, but after 3 months, everyone will gradually widen the gap. If you want to successfully complete the task, you need to work hard and strive for the best resources with your own sweat. It seems that in the top academies, this differentiated teaching method will not disappear, but will become more powerful. At this time, Yang Mu suddenly saw a flash of light in the distance from the corner of his eyes. Yang Mu changed his place in the room and looked over. He saw that in the space of Hades, where he had just come out, several attack ships and a main battleship were floating and smashing there, firing fiercely at the ground of Hades. The tungsten rods shot from the starship hit Hades hard, and then bursts of fire broke out. Obviously, humans can't wait to deeply develop this planet. After this wave of powerful attacks, the mecha troops will sweep away a wave of remaining large creatures. The colonization company will immediately put large mining machinery below, first develop the mineral deposits above, and then gradually build camps. Perhaps in a few years, this ecologically habitable planet will become another rich and habitable planet in PAJR. And under this rich city, there will be countless corpses of Hades' native plants and animals. Looking at the continuous fire in the distance, Yang Mu could only sigh. Such colonial development appears on countless planets in the Milky Way every day. The most primitive desire of mankind will devour everything. Back on his bed, Yang Mu lay down and took out a personal terminal issued by the school from his pocket. There were 2 messages sent by Yan Shenfu before, both asking about Yang Mu's situation and whether he had escaped successfully. Yang Mu replied, but Yan Shenfu did not reply to the message. Perhaps because he was busy with work, Yang Mu was not surprised and closed the communication interface. Because it was a military intranet, the personal terminal was issued by the school. At the same time, there was no communication signal in the remote star field here, and Yang Mu was unable to know Chen Kei's recent situation. Yang Mu rubbed the personal terminal for a while. Then clicked the button next to the bed and put on the oxygen mask. A glass cover rose from the edge of the bed, and it immediately became a dormant chamber. At the same time, white liquid seeped out from the surroundings, and then gradually submerged Yang Mu's body. In the medical room of the transport ship, Jijin was sitting in front of Jimo's bed, staring at Jimo, whose face was a little pale, but had already woken up. Brother, the 2 siblings stared at each other for a long time, and finally Jimo spoke first. Don't be so tense, I'm fine now, right? Jimo forced a smile and said to Jijin, who was standing aside with a cold face. Jijin glanced at Jimo, and then spoke. Nothing? Don't you know that you can't get hurt casually? Jijin's face was still tense. If K-Chen hadn't worked, I don't know what to do here, and why didn't you take the bottle of K-Chen you brought with you? Jijin said with a little anger, but his tone was full of love. Jimo was embarrassed when she heard what her elder brother said. She lowered her head and said timidly, I always thought it was a minor injury and I could get over it. Jijin snorted coldly. Don't talk to me about this. If you are so willful, something will happen in the future, Jijin warned Jimo, and Jimo nodded with a pout. At this time, Jijin's attitude softened. He looked at Jimo with a gentleness that he had never shown in front of outsiders, and said to Jimo earnestly, Xiaomo, maybe I shouldn't bring you here, Jijin said a little disappointed. In fact, living a good life in ALA country is enough, brother, Jimo interrupted Jijin before he finished speaking. Jijin raised his head and saw Jimo's determined eyes. Brother, didn't you say that I can't be a useless person? People's lives should be more exciting, Jimo said to Jijin, but Jijin didn't react at once that Jimo would say this to refute him. Indeed, this is what he had said to Jimo, but now it has become Jimo's weapon to fight back. Jijin looked at Jimo deeply, then turned his head to look aside and sighed. After a moment, Jijin raised his head again, looked at Jimo and asked, How is that Yang Mu to you? Jijin asked this question, but Jimo blushed a little. It's okay, he took care of me on the way. Jijin listened to this, nodded, and pursed his lips. Just when he was about to say something, Jimo suddenly spoke again. But when you came, Yang Mu went out for a long time for some reason, and then returned to the cockpit and took me out of the cockpit. Then it was you brothers who came, Jimo said with a little pride, as if trying to recall every moment of Yang Mu and himself. Ji-jin frowned, and found something different in Jimo's words just now. From what Jimo said, Yang Mu walked out of the cockpit before he came. But why did he walk out? At that time, there was a large creature appearing around. Wouldn't it be better to stay in the mecha? Just as she was about to speak, the door of the medical room opened. Clean the wound of the injured, this soldier, please return to the hibernation chamber immediately, the ship will be jumping in 15 minutes. Two female nurses walked into the ward and saw Ji-jin, who was dressed in military uniform, sitting next to the patient's bed, and urged. Seeing other people coming in, Ji-jin immediately stopped asking Jimo questions, and stood up, signaled to Jimo to have a good rest, then turned around, lowered his head and left the ward. Chapter 121 Elective Majors. Beep beep beep, wake up. Assemble. The familiar whistle and command sounded, and the sleeping people immediately woke up, then quickly sat up, picked up the clothes beside them, put them on quickly, and ran out of the dormitory. Wow, is it so fierce on the first day after returning? We can't even sleep in, Quinn on the side complained to Yang Mu and Jimo, but he immediately put on his clothes and ran out. It was still the regular morning run of 10 laps, but Longlai did not appear here today. Several instructors urged the trainees to complete the training goals. Yuan Miao, how is Jimo's injury? In the cafeteria, Yang Mu, who was eating breakfast, looked up and asked Yuan Miao next to him. I didn't see Jimo when I came back yesterday, and I didn't see Jimo's body during today's morning run. It seems that Jimo is still receiving treatment? The wound has begun to heal, and the doctor of the college has specifically told Jimo not to get the wound wet in the next 2 days, Yuan Miao said to Yang Mu while drinking porridge. What's wrong? Now you care about Momo, Yuan Miao said with a smile on his face. Yang Mu showed a helpless expression on his face and explained. No, it's just that Jimo's wound didn't heal before, and I always thought there was something wrong. I wanted to talk about this situation. As soon as Yang Mu said this, Ji-jin, who was sitting on the other side, tightened his hand holding the spoon a little, and his expression was a little unnatural. But since it has recovered now, forget it, Yang Mu said another sentence, and Ji-jin was relieved. Don't worry, Momo's physical fitness is very good, such a small injury will recover in minutes, Yuan Miao said with a smile, and then changed the topic to another matter. Hey, Yang Mu, tell us what you and Jimo did during the 2 days you were missing? When we asked Momo, she blushed, Yuan Miao asked a little excitedly, with stars in her eyes. Haha, let's eat. We still have classes in the morning, Yang Mu naturally didn't want to say more. He pointed to the breakfast beside him perfunctorily and asked everyone to eat quickly. Yuan Miao was a little depressed. He was very unhappy with Yang Mu's strong way of changing the subject, but he couldn't say anything else. Okay, eat your breakfast, and bring some back to Jimo later. Quinn appeared again and took over Yang Mu's words. If you want to listen, I can tell you about the glorious process of how Ji-jin and I rescued Yang Mu and others. Quinn patted his chest and said, but Yuan Miao glanced at him and lowered his head to eat his breakfast. After 3 months of training, the daily tasks of new students such as Yang Mu also changed. From the previous physical training from morning to night, it has changed to the current physical training once every 3 days. The rest of the time is transferred to study. The courses offered by the college are very wide. The courses that Yang Mu could see in the previous Taishan College are all here, and there are also some courses that he has never seen before. For example, metallurgy, cosmic economics, etc. What Yang Mu found most incredible was that there was a midwifery course here. Yang Mu couldn't figure out the purpose of this subject. Although there are many courses, not every one of them is required to be studied. When starting the formal course, students have to choose a major, and can also take 2 or more majors. These courses will be included according to the different choices. After the credits reach the standard, you can graduate directly from the college, obtain the PAJR second lieutenant rank, and issue a certificate. When eating in the morning, everyone has been discussing what courses to take, and Yang Mu has already chosen the subject he wants to take in his mind. The main subject of course is Yang Mu's old major, Battlefield Command, which also includes Special Operations Command, Starship Command, Mecha Corps Command, etc. The reason why Yang Mu wants to take this subject is very simple. First of all, He already has a foundation in this subject. Secondly, Yang Mu believes that what the teachers here teach will definitely be different from those taught at Taishan College, and he can learn more useful things. As for the category of concurrent studies, Yang Mu chose mechanical design and manufacturing. As for the reason, it was simple and crude, that is, to find a way to turn the drawings in his mind into reality. Although it is nonsense to participate in the manufacture of starships at present, starting from the parts of the mecha, Yang Mu believes that he can always bring some changes. This can also be regarded as laying a foundation for his future plans. When they arrived at the designated classroom, everyone sat down one after another. Seeing that the teacher did not come, everyone began to discuss in a low voice which major they would choose later. After a while, footsteps were heard at the door of the classroom. Everyone stopped talking and looked towards the door. A familiar figure walked into the classroom, and everyone immediately prepared and looked at the person who walked in. The teacher who walked in was Su Shaoqing, who was familiar to everyone. Su Shaoqing walked into the classroom, looked up at the students in the lecture hall, and then pressed a few times on the screen on the podium. The information of everyone in the classroom was displayed on the screen. Su Shaoqing took a look, nodded with satisfaction, and then spoke to the students. "Hello everyone, the teacher is very happy to see that all 80 of you have returned safely." Everyone showed a trace of joy on their faces, and Su Shaoqing continued. "The first thing you should do today is to choose your major and minor. I believe that everyone has made their own decisions at this time, but the teacher still reminds you that you can't choose too much, and the best one is the one that suits you best." After speaking, Su Shaoqing pressed the screen on the podium in front of him, and a blue screen was projected on the table where everyone was sitting. At the same time, it showed the names of the students in the seats and the various majors available. Seeing this step coming, everyone was not as active as before. Everyone had a serious expression and began to choose carefully. Yang Mu didn't care. He directly found the major he wanted to choose and clicked OK. The information was immediately sent to Su Shaoqing's screen. Su Shaoqing raised his head in surprise, glanced at Yang Mu, and then glanced at Jijin next to him. Because just now he received two confirmation messages at the same time, one of which chose Battlefield Command, Mechanical Design and Manufacturing. The other one chose Battlefield Command and Bioengineering. And both were majors, with no other minors. Su Shaoqing remembered this boy named Jijin. Although he was an outsourced student, he was outstanding in all aspects. It seemed that the dean of the academy had always planned to win him over, but he didn't expect that he would make such a choice now. Looking at this situation, Su Shaoqing didn't say much and put the two pieces of information into the database. After a few minutes, everyone's choices were completed one after another. Su Shaoqing also straightened his throat and spoke to everyone. Everyone has chosen their majors. Everyone should work hard to complete their majors, so the teacher won't say much. Next, the teacher will take you to know some introductory knowledge of military academy students. Chapter 122 Jijin's Test. In the first introductory lesson, Su Shaoqing still gave a calm and humorous lecture. With the help of the holographic immersive imaging equipment in the classroom, everyone was refreshed. At the same time, the 2-hour course in the morning was completed in a very relaxed atmosphere. Although Yang Mu had also attended the introductory course of Taishan Military Academy, Yang Mu still heard a lot of new ideas here. Especially when Su Shaoqing said a sentence, "Only the strong combat power can never be defeated." At that time, this topic made the students present quite confused, and Yang Mu was also shocked by this remark. In an era of advocating peace, we should talk more about a firm heart and an indelible willpower, but the combat power that Su Shaoqing said is the simplest and crudest firepower, the combat power of weapons. In the following, Su Shaoqing used holographic equipment to analyze the restored image of a real interstellar war for everyone. After the starships, fighters, space mechas, fierce lasers, and gorgeous explosions, everyone deeply agreed. The huge barrier brought by technology is enough to make up for the personal qualities of the soldiers. In addition to these, Su Shaoqing also introduced many things to Yang Mu and others through various methods. In short, everyone benefited a lot. "Yang Mu, do you have time? Take a walk." It was cloudy. Yang Mu and his friends had just finished their classes and had lunch in the cafeteria. At this time, Yang Mu was about to go back to the dormitory with Jijin and Quinn for a nap, but was stopped by Jijin, who had been silent all the time. "Ah, what's wrong?" Yang Mu was a little confused by Jijin's sudden words, but looking at Jijin's serious eyes, Yang Mu felt that he might want to ask something about Jimo, or maybe he didn't know something about Jimo's coma, so he came to find him to understand the situation. Yang Mu looked at Ji Jin with a serious face, and nodded. Okay, it's still early, so let's take a walk. Pointing to the tree-lined path next to him, Yang Mu gestured. Quinn, who was standing aside, looked at the two guys and felt that they were going to talk about business, pursed his lips, said hello, and left silently. Yang Mu and Ji Jin started walking towards the other side. After walking for a while, Ji Jin spoke first. Thank you for taking care of Jimo during those 2 days. Yang Mu scratched his head and laughed. No, I can't just stand by and watch you die. Ji Jin also nodded to show his understanding, took a deep breath, and suddenly changed the subject. When we went to rescue you, how did you run into that big bird? Yang Mu glanced at him. He didn't expect Ji Jin to not ask about the days in the jungle, but this question was not strange, and Yang Mu answered directly. It should be because of the electromagnetic waves that the strange bird was attracted here in advance, but it's good that you came here in advance. Ji Jin and Yang Mu continued to walk forward, and then fell into silence again. Half a minute later, Ji Jin finally asked a question he wanted to ask. When I was chatting with Jimo a few days ago, Jimo told me something. Yang Mu had no expression on his face, but just turned his head and looked at Ji Jin. What's the matter? Jimo said that you came out of the cockpit of the Javelin mecha before we arrived. Ji Jin turned around and looked at Yang Mu, with a strange light in his eyes. If I remember correctly, at that time, the strange bird was not destroyed by the armed drone that came, right? You should still be in danger, right? Ji Jin said these words with some coldness, and the atmosphere at the scene suddenly seemed to solidify. Ji Jin's words were directly referring to the secret that Yang Mu dared not let others know. And now, although the other party could not be said to know his secret, he had already noticed a little clue. He always wanted to hide it from people outside, but he didn't expect that there was another person around him. Although Jimo was a little confused and had been drowsy all the time, it did not mean that he was confused all the time. And Jimo actually remembered something at that time. Yang Mu glanced at Ji Jin, lowered his eyes, and then laughed. It is true that the strange bird was destroyed after you arrived, but when I came out, I was observing what was going on. The Javelin mecha was severely damaged and its energy was exhausted, so I had no choice but to do this, Yang Mu said calmly, but there were some loopholes in his expression, and Ji Jin quickly found a flaw in it. I remember that the Javelin mecha had a spare battery at that time, right? At that time, you didn't have time to change the battery. Yang Mu smiled bitterly and shook his head. It was useless. The attack of the strange bird was too fierce, and I didn't have enough time to change the battery, so you opened the hatch and went out by yourself? And left Jimo inside. Ji Jin suddenly looked at Yang Mu with a burning gaze. Listening to Ji Jin's somewhat excited words, Yang Mu was a little shocked. It turned out that Ji Jin took so many detours just to reprimand himself for leaving Jimo alone in the cockpit at that time. This is really for his sister, he can do anything. Yang Mu twitched his mouth, resisted the urge to touch his forehead, and said helplessly, Ji Jin, the situation at that time was a little different from what you thought. Although the Javelin mecha I was driving was knocked down, the armed drone came over immediately afterwards. It was because I saw you coming that I felt relieved to come out to see the situation, and then carried Jimo out. Yang Mu raised his hand to explain. Ji Jin swallowed a mouthful of saliva, thought about it, and then nodded, as if he agreed with Yang Mu's statement. Seeing that Ji Jin's attitude had changed, Yang Mu also secretly breathed a sigh of relief, and then quickly changed the subject. Let's go back to the dormitory to rest. Now everything is safe. This is the best. With this, Yang Mu stretched out his hand to twist Ji Jin's shoulder, turned around, and walked towards the dormitory together. Ji Jin did not resist, but followed back with a blank expression. However, at this time, Ji Jin had already confirmed one thing in his heart, that is, Yang Mu. He was indeed lying. During the 2 days at the garrison, while Ji Jin was taking care of Jimo, he also took time to look at the wreckage of the Javelin mecha and the destroyed strange bird. Although the surface of the Javelin mecha was covered with scars, the head was completely sunken, and there was a big hole on the back of the mecha. But Ji Jin found that the recorder was not damaged, but when he wanted to check the driving record, he found that the data had been extracted and cleared, and it was blank. After that, on the big bird that had not yet rotted, Ji Jin found many narrow but deep knife wounds. Such knife wounds naturally could not be caused by the axe on the Javelin mecha. and some cross wounds and piercing wounds were not the size of the long knife on the mecha. All these doubts, plus Jimo's accidental memory, and Yang Mu's answer at this time. Jijin became more determined in his thoughts, but for this matter, Jijin interrupted and did not go into it for the time being. Jijin was just a character who was inquisitive in his bones, but he did not want to destroy the friendship between the two because of this matter. However, when he gradually discovered some differences in Yang Mu, Jijin became very interested. Looking at Yang Mu who was talking, Jijin said silently in his heart, "Wait, Yang Mu, I will dig out your secrets one day." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123 Anger. Report. At the door of the office, Yang Mu shouted with his head held high. The two people in the room looked up at Yang Mu. Seeing that it was Yang Mu, Yan Shenfu took off his glasses and called Yang Mu in. "It's Yang Mu, come and sit here." Yan Shenfu seemed very happy, and Yu Yanqin, who was standing next to him, also fixed his eyes carefully on Yang Mu. Yang Mu nodded modestly, walked in, and then stood in front of Yan Shenfu's desk. "Yang Mu, you performed very well a few days ago." "Very good." Yan Shenfu leaned back in his chair and said to Yang Mu with a laugh. It seems that he must have read Yang Mu's report on Hades' planet and now seems very satisfied. "This is what I should do," Yang Mu said seriously, with an expression on his face that was neither humble nor arrogant. "Haha, see, you are still very humble." Yan Shenfu listened to Yang Mu's answer, laughed again, turned his head and said to Yang Qin next to him. Yang Qin nodded, walked to Yang Mu, and then scanned Yang Mu up and down. "He's a good seedling, old Yan, your vision is right." In the past 2 days, as the dean, Yang Qin naturally checked the test results of each student carefully, and the student in front of him was particularly outstanding. When he first entered school, this student entered Yang Qin's field of vision because of his special physique. Because he was Yan Shenfu's prospective apprentice, Yang Qin also paid great attention to him. In this assessment, the other party was able to lead a team member out of the predicament, which was really excellent. In the last assessment of Hades' planet, 3 students died and more than a dozen students were injured to varying degrees. But among these people, without exception, the students who died were all because they fell behind, and the injured students were all because they encountered large creatures and the team rushed to meet them. But this class is different. Only a few people were injured, and they will be full of energy after treatment, and no one died. This is great good news. When the news that Yang Mu was attacked by a large creature and his whereabouts were unknown reached here, Yan Shenfu was unable to sleep or eat, but he didn't expect that he would turn the danger into safety in the end. This guy actually came out by himself. He just came here to discuss Yang Mu with Yan Shenfu, but before he could talk for a few words, Yang Mu came over. "Young man, are you interested?" Looking at the tall and handsome young man in front of him, Yang Qin also had a heart of admiration for talent. When he was about to throw out some tempting conditions, he was interrupted by Yan Shenfu. "Yang, it's getting late. Don't you have an appointment with the doctor to see a dentist today? I won't waste your time, I don't know when." Yan Shenfu has stood behind Yang Qin, and dragged Yang Qin out of the house without saying a word. Hey, what are you doing, old Yan?" "Young man, I have a Yingpai plan here, tailor-made, don't be fooled by old man Yan." The voice stopped abruptly, and it was Yan Shenfu who closed the door of the office. Yang Mu, who was standing aside, couldn't help but burst into a smile when he saw 2 people whose combined age was at least 130 years old making such a move. He quickly raised his hand to rub his nose. Seeing that Yang Qin was driven out of the office by him, Yan Shenfu locked the door and then turned to look at Yang Mu. Yang Mu pursed his lips and nodded. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. He had just finished his class, but he received a message from Yan Shenfu in his personal terminal, asking him to come to his office. Yang Mu had a hunch that Yan Shenfu was going to arrange something for him, but Yang Mu couldn't say anything. After class, he came directly here. "Have you chosen a major?" "The major is Battlefield Command, and the minor is Mechanical Design and Manufacturing." Yan Shenfu quickly got to the point. It seemed that he had already read Yang Mu's message, but his tone showed strong dissatisfaction. Yang Mu saw the other party's attitude change quickly, grinned, smiled and nodded. What a joke. You little brat, you are not sensible at all. Yan Shenfu looked at Yang Mu's cheerful admission, but snorted coldly, and said to Yang Mu with a stern face, changing his previous friendly attitude. Didn't I tell you? You should choose mechanical design as your major. Why do you always want to die on the battlefield? Yang Mu was a little stunned. He didn't expect that Yan Shenfu called him here today because he chose the wrong major. The problem is that Yan Shenfu seems to have never mentioned this requirement, and even if he had mentioned it, he would probably still choose battlefield command as his major. No, Mr. Yan, Yang Mu wanted to explain. No, what? I've said it so many times, I design mechas, and I'm willing to teach you if you want to learn. Old man Yan immediately pushed back Yang Mu's words. Once this usually humble old man encounters something serious, he will be unreasonable. I'll give you a chance now. Change your major later, and I'll pretend that this incident never happened, Yan Shenfu said sternly, staring at Yang Mu with stubbornness in his eyes. Yang Mu was a little scared by Yan Shenfu's eyes and lowered his head. Seeing Yang Mu lower his head, Yan Shenfu thought that Yang Mu was ready to change his choice after his emotional and rational persuasion, and immediately added fuel to the fire. Little Mu, I'm not saying anything bad about you. I dug you from the new star domain here because I saw your unique ability. Although it's not outstanding for the time being, I believe that as long as you go through my comprehensive training, you will definitely become the best mecha designer in the Republic. This is called making the best use of things and people, Yan Shenfu said a little excitedly, and the next moment, Yang Mu raised his head and looked at the old Yan Shenfu in front of him seriously. Yang Mu grinned, as if struggling in his heart for a moment, and still spoke. Mr. Yan, I still won't change my choice. As soon as the words came out, Yan Shenfu, who was a little surprised, suddenly lost his smile, frowned, walked up to Yang Mu in disbelief, and asked, Yang Mu, you really won't change? No. Yang Mu shook his head firmly. Yan Shenfu frowned even deeper. Why are you doing this? That major requires you to go to the front line, and people might die if you don't do it well, Mr. Yan, this is a dream I have always had, Yang Mu said immediately. You should be able to understand, although I am a minor in mechanical design, I will treat it with the same attitude and will never let you down, Yang Mu said firmly, but Yan Shenfu turned around silently, walked to the desk with a bit of loneliness, supported the table with one hand, turned his back to Yang Mu, and looked out the window. Get out, Mr. Yan, this is a student. Yang Mu felt a little vain and was about to add a few words. Get out. Get out, the angry voice roared from Yan Shenfu's chest, and Yang Mu was also startled. Looking at Yan Shenfu's slightly trembling right hand, Yang Mu stood up straight and quietly left the office. After closing the door of the office, Yang Mu was startled by Yang Qin who was standing next to him. Yang Qin had no expression on his face, but after looking at Yang Mu, he closed his eyes and shook his head. Obviously, Yang Qin had just heard all the conversations between Yan Shenfu and Yang Mu, but he didn't know whether Yang Qin felt sorry for Yan Shenfu or Yang Mu at this moment. You go back first and study hard. Old man Yan, I will talk. Yang Qin patted Yang Mu's shoulder and said softly, then pushed the door and entered the room. In the office, Yan Shenfu stood by the window a little lonely. There was nothing in the room to vent his anger, but Yang Qin knew that Yan Shenfu was really angry. Yan Shenfu was over 70 years old, and his health was getting worse. Because of some things in the early years, he had not accepted any apprentices. Now, finally, such a good seedling appeared, but the result was not satisfactory. Yan Shenfu could not help but be angry. Seeing the change of his old friend's mood, Yang Qin sighed and walked towards Yan Shenfu who was next to the desk. Old Yan. Chapter 124 Busy Yang Mu. Yang Mu's professional dispute was finally resolved in another way. That is, Yang Mu's major can remain unchanged, but the rest of the time after class, except for eating, sleeping, and physical training, will be controlled by Yan Shenfu, and Yang Mu must obey unconditionally. This is the condition proposed by Yan Shenfu, and Yang Qin spent half an hour to explain it to Yang Mu. After a conversation with Yang Qin, Yang Mu also agreed, and personally apologized to Yan Shenfu, which finally made Yan Shenfu's mood better. The reason why Yang Mu insisted on his choice before was because of Yang Mu's relationship in his previous life. The bloody battles on the front line for 20 years had already left a deep mark in Yang Mu's bones, which could not make Yang Mu give up. But after understanding Yan Shenfu's use Yang Mu felt that it was okay to make concessions for this old senior. However, Yang Mu felt that the old man Yan was probably still dissatisfied with his behavior of contradicting him, and then vented it on himself in various ways. Okay, this class ends here today. The student named Yang Mu will stay to clean up and reinstall all these things for me. The bell rang, and more than 100 people in the large lecture hall stood up. After hearing Yan Shenfu's words, everyone looked at Yang Mu again. Some people shook their heads helplessly, expressing pity for Yang Mu, while others showed undisguised jealousy. Yang Mu actually really wanted to exchange with those students who seemed to be jealous of him for this treatment. The reason was that the middle of the classroom was full of scattered parts and wires on the platform and the floor. Yan Shenfu was actually very wild when he taught. In every class, whether it was about design theory or analyzing mechanical structure, he would always tinker with a few mechanical parts, and then wildly disassemble them, pulling them hard, and sparks flew. The students in the class were happy to see and hear such a scene, but Yang Mu, who stayed to clean the classroom and reassemble the machinery, was miserable. The students left the classroom one after another. Yang Mu put away his class notes first, then rolled up his sleeves, put on his protective clothing and protective glasses, walked to the middle of the classroom, squatted down and collected all the scattered parts. Take your time, you have to hand in your experience tomorrow. Yan Shenfu, who took off his protective clothing, glanced at Yang Mu and reminded him unceremoniously. The design class the day after tomorrow, think carefully about what to design. If it's too elementary, I, an old man, will not look down on it. After saying this, Yan Shenfu took his things and turned away as a reminder to Yang Mu, leaving Yang Mu to clean up the battlefield by himself. Yang Mu shrugged, but he didn't feel wronged, just concentrating on doing his own thing. Gathering all the things on the ground together, Yang Mu turned around and pulled over a floating screen, and then opened a video, which was playing the teaching video of Yan Shenfu in this class. It's just that this is on the computer in the classroom, and there is no way to extract the data, but it's good to be able to watch it. Clicking the reverse mode, Yang Mu looked over bit by bit. After seeing how a part originally existed in this machine, Yang Mu immediately paused, then walked quickly to the table and searched inside. After a while, Yang Mu found the part, and then put it in according to the posture on the screen. This method was discovered by Yang Mu by chance 2 days ago, and it helped Yang Mu a lot. Before, Yang Mu needed at least 3 hours to assemble such a mechanical part, and he could not return to the dormitory until 9 or 10 o'clock every time, and the food he ate was cold. After having this thing to assist, Yang Mu's speed naturally became much faster, and he was also able to do some finishing steps. After skillfully connecting the 2 wires, Yang Mu put the part down temporarily, then looked at his assembly from the side, made some notes, and then continued his assembly work. What Yan Shenfu got today was a gyroscope device on a starship railgun. The difficulty coefficient was not small, and Yang Mu had not been exposed to this kind of thing, so he was still very serious in repairing and learning. As for these things, Yan Shenfu has never brought repeated parts in the 1 month since he started teaching freshmen. Mecha heads, mecha engines, aircraft engines, high-energy electromagnetic rifles, etc. If the classroom area was not too small, he might have wanted to bring an auxiliary engine of an interstellar battleship to explain the disassembly. But fortunately, there was no such thing, otherwise Yang Mu would be exhausted. Of course, Yang Mu also benefited a lot from it. Many of the things in it could make Yang Mu feel refreshed, and some clever designs also made Yang Mu want to praise a few words. It was precisely because of this that Yang Mu gradually realized the intention of Yan Shenfu's confusing teaching method, which was to let him slowly learn a lot of knowledge through disassembly and assembly. The design principles in construction of many of the parts have also left a deep impression on Yang Mu. Many parts and shapes Yang Mu can now recognize what they are and what they are used for at a glance. However, the core components of these teaching machines have been removed, partly for confidentiality, and partly because some core components are made of rare elements and have strong radioactivity. For the safety of the students, they are only replaced by drawings or plastic models. After rewelding the last component, Yang Mu quickly walked to the side and pressed a switch on the ground. 2 spaces popped up on both sides of the control panel. 2 wires, one blue and one red, stretched out from the middle and directly plugged into the gyroscope on the table. After a while, layers of blue light lit up on the gyroscope, and then slowly started to work. Yang Mu showed a satisfied smile and turned off the instrument. Yang Mu wiped the sweat from his forehead and was about to go back to take a shower, but a thought suddenly came to his mind. Is it appropriate for a mecha to be driven by a gyroscope cabin? Yang Mu remembered that he had such a drawing in his mind, but Yang Mu shook his head the next moment. BlackBerry sounded the drawing in his mind and he denied this idea first. Regardless of whether there is such a design, Yang Mu now thinks that installing a gyroscopic cockpit on a mecha is not a good thing. This kind of cockpit that maintains stability at all times will greatly reduce the driver's sense of control. In actual combat, it is easy for the driver to lose control of the action, which may pose a fatal threat to himself. However, there is an anti-insect mecha that seems to have this design. I can study it carefully when I go back. After making up his mind, Yang Mu continued to pack up his things and walked out of the classroom. It was already January, and the weather on Yanhurong Star had become a little cold. The sky was gloomy and overcast. Although a few small snowflakes occasionally floated, the ground was always dry, and the air became even colder. Yang Mu tightened his clothes and walked out. At this time, Yang Mu saw the message sent by Jimo Xiaomu. Haven't you finished yet? There's a party tonight, come quickly. Yang Mu didn't react at once until he looked at the time on his personal terminal. It was 7 o'clock in the evening. Yang Mu remembered that today was the New Year's party. I was so busy that I forgot about this matter. Chapter 125 Invitation. After hurriedly returning to the dormitory and taking a shower, Yang Mu found that there seemed to be nothing good looking in his closet. After thinking for a moment, Yang Mu put on his military uniform and walked towards the auditorium. When he walked out of the dormitory, the already dim sky had become completely dark, and small snowflakes began to float in the sky, shining brightly under the street lights. Yang Mu reached out to catch a few falling snowflakes, watching them quickly melt into snow water in his hands. Yang Mu tightened the brim of his hat and quickened his pace. The New Year's Eve party was supposed to be held last week, but the first batch of students were on a mission outside, so it was delayed for another week. In addition, the various activities originally organized were finally put together, with the dance as the main body, allowing everyone to play as they please, which was also a unique party. When he walked to the door of the auditorium, the heavy door revealed a gap, and the warm yellow light reflected from inside, illuminating the white steps, giving a feeling of being in another world. Pushing the door open, a hot breath immediately hid him. Yang Mu shook his head and saw the situation inside clearly. In the retro-style auditorium, a crystal chandelier hanging in the middle was emitting yellow light. There were hundreds of students in the auditorium, but no one of other identities was here. Melodious classical music came from the auditorium, and many college students in gorgeous clothes were dancing in the field. On both sides, some people also gathered together, chatting and drinking. The school deliberately gave all students a relaxing night, but this relaxation means that they don't have to get up early tomorrow morning. Now they can sing songs and dance to their heart's content, drink as much as they want, and eat and drink as much as they want. So this is a rare day of decadent aristocratic life. Students who have been under heavy pressure for a long time will naturally not miss this good opportunity. Yang Mu walked into the auditorium from one side. He was not curious, but just walked straight to the dining table next to him. From just now to now, Yang Mu hasn't eaten anything. If Jimo hadn't urged him 2 or 3 times, Yang Mu originally planned to eat before coming back. But now, looking at the rich food on the table, Yang Mu smiled slightly. Fortunately, he didn't really eat before coming here. This is also good. After eating, he will go back and write his thoughts. Yang Mu found a stool to sit down, looking at the delicious food in front of him, and raised his eyebrows. He reached out to take a pair of chopsticks, then took a plate, poured some soy sauce, picked up a piece of fish, dipped it, and put it into his mouth. The smooth feeling was very refreshing. Yang Mu showed a very enjoyable expression on his face, and then the next second Yang Mu suddenly opened his eyes, glanced at both sides of himself, and quickly took the whole plate of fish in front of him and began to eat it. Fuck, Yang Mu was eating, and a deep but somewhat angry voice came from the opposite side of Yang Mu. Yang Mu raised his head and almost spit the fish in his mouth on the other person's face. Yang Mu had never noticed that the person sitting opposite his table was Quinn, but Quinn's current dress really made people want to laugh. Quinn was sitting there with a look of despair on his face, chewing a cookie with both hands, but his eyes were fixed on a certain direction in the field. Yang Mu looked in the direction of Quinn's gaze and saw Yuan Miao, who was wearing a white dress, dancing with a senior. Realizing the reason, Yang Mu turned back to look at Quinn, still unable to help laughing. Quinn's skin was originally dark, and today he didn't know where he got a black suit from, even the tie was black. The only non-black parts of Quinn's body were the collar and cuffs of his white shirt, and Quinn's white teeth. Yang Mu called Quinn, but the other party ignored him, his eyes still staring straight at the field. Yang Mu picked up the pepper bottle next to him and threw it over, and Quinn finally reacted. "Ah, Yang Mu, when did you come?" Quinn looked at Yang Mu, who was wearing a military uniform, and said in surprise, "Why are you wearing a military uniform? What's wrong? Is it not okay?" Yang Mu pointed at Quinn while picking at his food. I said, "What kind of idea prompted you to make a black suit?" Hearing Yang Mu say this, Quinn became even more angry. He bit the biscuit in his hand fiercely and said angrily, "It's all Ji Jin's fault. That guy fooled me and said that black suits make me look handsome." At this time, Ji Jin, who was surrounded by several girls, naturally didn't expect that his aesthetics was complained about for the first time. I asked Lao Zhao to tailor this suit on the cafeteria. It cost me 2 months' allowance, but it turned out like this. "Oh, what a miserable man," Quinn said, shaking his head and sighing, but his eyes kept glancing in the direction of Yuan Miao, but he found Yang Mu next to him and didn't dare to look at him as he did just now. Yang Mu smiled, took the plate and sat over, eating while talking to Quinn. "Quinn, if you ask me, the brave will die of overeating while the timid will die of starvation. Be brave, be brave." Bravery means everything. Listening to Yang Mu's words, Quinn turned his head to look at Yang Mu, then turned his head away, then turned his head to look at Yang Mu again, then turned his head away again. After a moment, Quinn finally sighed. "I don't talk to people with girlfriends, thank you." After saying this expressionlessly, Quinn grabbed another cracker and continued to sit and chew it. Seeing Quinn like this, Yang Mu shrugged his shoulders, took the plate and walked around the table, eating a few bites here and there. Just when Yang Mu was almost done eating and was about to leave, Yang Mu, who was still finishing the last few pieces of fruit, was patted on the shoulder. Yang Mu turned around and saw Jimo looking at him with a smile. Today, Jimo wore a blue skirt, the hem of which reached the ground, with stars dotted on the pleats of the skirt, shining under the warm yellow light. Her face was lightly painted, not stunning, but a kind of temperament that came naturally was revealed, making Yang Mu feel as if a princess was standing in front of him. "What a coincidence, Jimo," Yang Mu said with a smile while chewing watermelon with his cheeks puffed out. Jimo glanced at the plate that Yang Mu was holding, and then looked at the military uniform on Yang Mu. Yang Mu, who was nearly 1.8 meters tall, wore this military uniform, and the slim military uniform complemented Yang Mu's tall body. Jimo looked at Yang Mu's dress. Not only did she not feel uncomfortable, but the smile on her face became even stronger. The next moment, Jimo smiled and stretched out her right hand to Yang Mu. "Won't you ask me to dance?" Wearing blue silk gloves, Jimo's hands looked very slender. Among the girls, Jimo had a delicate face and a good figure, and was also the focus of everyone's attention. Whenever Jimo sat aside, someone would come forward and invite Jimo to dance. But now, Jimo took the initiative to extend her hand to Yang Mu and invite him to dance with her. Yang Mu looked at Jimo's extended hand, then at the smiling expression on Jimo's face, pursed his lips, and was about to say something when someone suddenly interrupted the atmosphere between the two. "Student Jimo, can I invite you to dance with me?" A voice came from the plain but slightly provocative tone. Jimo and Yang Mu looked to the side at the same time, and a familiar face came into view. Tao Meng. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.